So this one is called, Don't You Guys Ever Take a Break?
Yeah. I think we both heard that like 5 times at least in the last week.
Yeah. It's a fun question. I don't know. It's like I don't know how to answer it really, because I feel like I just want to be like, yeah, like, I don't know, I'm going to go lay on my phone for a while. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's always weird when people say that because I never feel like I have time for a break, you know?
Yeah. What do you think that they're responding to? Is it that they like, what do you think that is the reason that it's mentioned? Is it just that we're always like running around like crazy doing stuff?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of times it comes up is when someone's like, hey, you want to just go get drunk at the bar after this? Or they're like, hey, you want to like do nothing tomorrow? And we're like, oh, would you rather film a podcast, do a live show, and work on some like music videos or like 3D renders instead?
Yeah.
And they're like, no. They're like, oh, there we go. Got some ambiance.
This isn't music we can use probably, but it does work. It's
Cool.
easy. Yeah. So it's like when they're just it's like, oh, we're wrapping this activity up.
Yeah.
Time to be done. And we're like, but what about those 4 other things that we were hoping to get done today also?
Yeah, they're inconvenienced by us doing more things. Because they would have a better time if we would just like stop, maybe. Not always, but
Yeah.
that is sometimes what the case is.
Well, like, do you know how to turn it off?
I don't know. I feel like I have sometimes where I completely turn it off for like a couple weeks. But that was like pandemic.
Yeah. Man, I just remember laying on the floor for like a whole couple of days.
Yeah.
I didn't have a couch either, so it was a floor thing.
I could see that being
Oh, I did have a couch.
a good option, even if you do use... We don't have to get into that, but oh yeah, I went through the whole Red Dead campaign.
I never played it.
It's so good, man. I love those video games.
I think I'd like to. I don't play any good games right now. I mean, that's how you're talking about how you like let go.
That was the pandemic, yeah.
Oh, cool.
I every waking hour I spent on the Red Dead campaign.
That's cool.
For a week. It was like, I don't know, I think it's like 40 hours of gameplay, and I got it done in like 3 days or something.
Yeah. I watched a couple seasons of stuff. I don't know. I was looking through my phone the other day, and I saw that what was it? It was a live stream that I did on Twitch with Alec where we played Rocket League. And so I set up in the attic. I set up like a bunch of lights and 2 screens, and then we ended up like calling Andrew really late at night, I think. And so he was in bed, like FaceTiming us or something. And so he was on the TV, and we were in the attic with the like wild lighting, like talking to him, watching him on the TV and live streaming the whole thing. It was weird. I could probably pull up clips.
Yeah,
but
that
it's not
sounds
worth
crazy.
it. But I felt like that's where we really started to kind of like experiment with some weird stuff. It was like, okay, well, we're not, we can't go to a venue for anything like this. So how do we convert this like little attic space I have and do a weird show thing or whatever? We tried shooting some like sessions or music videos or whatever.
Yeah. I feel like that was the first start of what you guys became
Actually, even with Triple Falls, with the like multicams and live streams.
That's what I was getting at. Is like,
damn,
that whole little era of your attic was like kind of the launch for everything you did after. I had this thought when we were at the. Is that me?
Sounds like it.
I wish we would have called you because then we could have got it on here.
Dang.
Hey, man.
Here,
What up?
Tell him to call
Yeah.
me. Tell him
Call Willis.
Yeah.
Sick.
Oops. Why did it hang up immediately? Okay. Let's see. Hold
Screen
on.
record, yeah.
Hey, we're working on getting you in here. Give me a sec. I don't have you.
You're gonna get me in this one?
Yeah.
How do we?
Okay. Sorry to call during your pod, bro.
No,
No,
it's
you're good.
perfect. It's exactly what we wanted. Let's see if we can. I probably have to try and switch the call itself like you do in your headphones. There we go.
Oh, there's a little switch on here. Did you do that? Oh, you did
Yeah.
that.
Check.
Hello.
Check.
Oh,
Yo.
can you hear
Hear
us?
me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got you in the headphones, bro.
Sick.
Dude, nice. Here, I'm gonna go to my car because it's really cold outside.
Okay.
Okay.
What are you casting? What are you potting?
We're talking about how we've heard a lot that people tell us that we don't take any breaks and that we need to have more fun or something and slow down.
Well, I am one of the people that tells you that.
So-
but it's not like hey, slow down. It's just like,
It's usually a question. You're like, don't you guys ever take a break?
Yeah.
yeah.
Which I think
Yeah,
is
do
a
you
fair
ever slow down?
question. And the answer is honestly no.
Yeah.
Or like it just, the breaks appear like between things, like when you're waiting for a render or when you're like procrastinating starting a video edit or something.
Yeah.
Or pooping, you just got a little break.
Yeah.
Honestly, poops are a good break for me. I find myself just like, I don't know, sitting on the pot and thinking about things and checking the phone,
Oh, dude, this is
taking a poop break.
kind of a side tangent, but my favorite moments of the week are taking natural light showers. Like I'll get the shower ready, and then I turn the lights off, and then I like open the blinds so there's like natural light. Doesn't matter if moonlight or if it's like sunlight.
Okay.
And then I'll just like put on some music, and then I'll just kind of just hang out in the shower. And it's one of the most just like, I don't know, I just feel
Any shower? Like, do you need a good window? Do you got a specific shower that's just like the right vibe for it?
the one at our place last year was perfect for it. That's where I started enjoying it. Because that had the best natural light in our whole house was in the bathroom.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think
It was
that's
pretty
what
bright
started
there,
it.
Okay.
But now
Interesting.
with my current spot, I have a somewhat decent window for it. But yeah, that's one of my things that I just enjoy more than I should, I think.
I could see bathrooms being a thing. Well, people don't, it's a private space. I guess we don't like big windows on our bathrooms.
Yeah.
But it would be neat to have like a more open kind of shower, maybe like a top window,
Dude, a
skylight.
sunlight or a skylight? Yeah, that'd be sick.
That'd be really neat.
Ooh, that'd be cool. I think the biggest window in my current house is in the bathroom.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
But I tend to keep it closed because I'm usually naked in the bathroom.
Yeah, that's why I like open the blinds after I turn the lights off.
Sure.
That's smart.
So, caller, to what do we owe the pleasure?
I think we're just late to an event that we're supposed to be going to that we told him
well,
we
I
would.
was.
Oh, yeah. Are you already there?
I am here. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're planning to be there. We just decided to sit down and record for a little bit first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it
So I'm
sounds like
surprised I decided to actually get here right at 7.
cool.
Because I wasn't sure. Because I was gonna eat and then I wasn't hungry.
Well, hey, just think, you probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to join us on the podcast except for that you were right on time.
Yeah.
And
True.
we were tardy.
Yeah.
So we should just put down another 5 and then spit over there to catch the show.
Yeah, then we'll pause and we'll roll to you, Andrew.
Cool.
Yeah.
Unless you think the podcast is like more important.
It's not.
We can pick it up later. We just got it set up. That's the biggest part.
Yeah. But this works well.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
it
stoked
seems like you're
about
having
it.
fun over there. So
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to you just rocking that out if you'd rather do that. So
Nah, I got plans to go to the show.
Yeah.
Plan to be there.
cool.
Shout out to the comedy scene at the Circle Inn in North Mankato.
Yeah. Dan Bakula.
Dan
Mr.
Bakula,
Funny
yes.
Guy.
Man,
He's a funny guy. He's a funny guy.
he's a funny guy.
Great human
He's
too.
a funny guy.
Is there anything else we want to like touch on before? Can we wrap up that our previous thing? Is there any final notes we want to get in on that? Because like I don't know, it is interesting, and I feel like it's been mentioned a lot recently. But the only other situation I've had that was very similar is one that I can remember where like I got done DJing, and it's late. It's like 2 a.m. or whatever, 3 maybe. And I'm just packing up, I'm like wrapping cables and like getting my stuff down. And they're like, what? Everyone's like, what are you doing? This is crazy. You're still working? And it's like, yeah, I mean, my shit's all over your venue.
Dude, what blew my mind was the other night after you just went through a whole day of lighting production and like sound and visuals and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then we pull up to Andy's house. And you pull out your 505 to try a 404 to try to mix in with the like people chopping rhythm on the speakers in this basement, and it was 3 a.m.
I was like, I can finger drum to this.
Yeah, dude, I had so much respect for you with all of that, because I was like, I don't have the energy to do that. I don't know how I would even think to make that work. Like, I didn't do as much as you did that day. Like, goodness. Dude,
it was a crazy day. I got into the venue at noon and just started programming.
Yeah.
And I don't think I didn't go downstairs once. I went to the bathroom, but I didn't leave. I just locked in and went all the way till the end of the show.
By the end of that show, looking at you, you were like, yeah, you almost had like crazy eyes. You were just like,
yeah. Dude, I felt like it because for the last, like when you came up and I was like slurring my words, just trying to like talk, because I had been like airdropping stuff to myself and like trying to edit down DJ graphics and trying to like run a live stream and the lights and the visual wall for everybody.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually get any of the DJ graphics prepared ahead of time. So like I was like live airdropping their like logo to my phone, cutting it with some like videos and glitching it out, and then like dropping it back to my laptop, loading it up and like getting it up there for their set. And then like all while mixing those other things. And it was too much. Like it was
that was a lot.
I think it was too much.
Oh.
But it was fun. It was I like kind of like,
and I think you doing that over and over will like help you so much in like learning once you can focus more, you'll have other people to do those things, and you'll like kind of know the chaos of each element and be able to help other people. With this last show, I brought my cameras down to Cato, and when I was going in, like every other time we've done a show, I bring my camera in and I do photo for every other artist on the lineup before my set. And this time I was like, I just need to enjoy this one. I think I won't have time to edit these photos, even though I want to, and that would be awesome to like share with them. But then there ended up being a professional photographer there, which was sick. So I didn't even have to do that. But yeah, there is that like doing all of the things, and then
I had my camera too. I was like, should I pull this out?
Dude, you did pull it out, and you got like the sickest photos, but you weren't in any of them when we posted them. So that like the guy who did all the work is like absent from being like, scene amongst everyone else. So we have to figure that out next time because
it was a really fun weekend.
Yeah. So for anyone watching that has no context for what happened, we did a show on Friday that was like 30-minute sets of 8 artists, 8 different DJs. And then on Saturday it was, I don't know how many DJs, but it was back to back to back. So
it was probably like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Probably 6 or 7.
Like duos doing 45-minute sets.
Yeah.
And then a trio, you, Calvin, and Andrew Luster over here did a trio set.
Kind of like a little like a little all over the place, but a little structured too. It was fun.
Yeah.
And so we had great turnout, like big event on Friday, and Saturday was super chill. But both were fun, and we got everything dialed in. Big shout out to the Energy crew. What's Up Lounge was tight.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Alec, for taking all the shit down while I was DJing again today.
And I was just twiddling my thumbs trying to set this up.
Jared getting us ready to podcast. I mean, without which we wouldn't be here right now. So.
For sure, yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
The lighting, this looks so cool. This trio color. I know last podcast we had the red and the blue, but I was like, I don't always want to be the red guy, so we're just experimenting with different video formats and things, just trying to make this as easy and as fun as possible for capturing and then sharing with people and being able to look back at it. Any notes of improvement, Andrew, based on your brief engagement thus far?
My view's good from the iPhone. I can only really see half of Willis. Now I see you.
Yeah.
But
so that's his, and I'm over here chilling.
I like the colors. And, my light just turned off. I got to improve my lighting over here.
I think we should.
Nice.
Okay,
we should get going. We got 7:12 on the clock.
Sick. All right,
Whatever feels right.
We'll come to you, Andrew.
See you soon.
Okay.
Thanks for jumping on the pod, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me jump on the pod. It was fun.
He just happened to try out the Bluetooth for our recorder right before you called. So this is total happenstance. Crazy that it happened, but yeah, we'll see in a little bit.
It's trippy hearing the voice through the microphones, through my phone speaker.
Yeah. Oh, can you hear the samples we have here?
Let's see.
Here. Let's turn them up.
Oh yeah.
Heck yeah.
That's wild.
Hold that down.
The crowd goes wild.
We'll probably make some ones of our own for this eventually.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey.
Well, and now for a word from our sponsor.
Oh yeah, this is if you want to sponsor the NoPlay Podcast, if you are the brands of MeUndies, Boba Tea Shop in Cato,
Sweetwater,
yeah.
Converse,
absolutely.
Yep.
V8 Energy again from last time.
Monster.
Monster. Yeah, we can do Monster. I've been dabbling with those due to lack of sleep.
I just tried the Pipeline Punch the other day. It's pretty fire. It's the pink one that has flowers on it.
Dang.
Pretty nice.
What's your favorite Monster?
I really like the Mango Loco.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like any of the fruity ones. I'm either the white jumbo can, or the import can that has the twist, the little crack twist thing. Those, if they don't have those two, I'm discouraged from getting Monster. And that's some weird thing in my head.
Monster. Just those ones.
Yeah.
All right.
Monster in your head.
We'll be back maybe. Bye.
All right. See you in a bit.
Okay.
Nano Loop. I should have just picked Ableton. I would have had a much cooler tune by now.
That's for sure. My dad was asking for a good app, and I told him about Ableton, but he doesn't have an iPhone. Ableton Note thing. So I asked you, and then I gave him a Nano Loop. And then I was like, oh, goodness, this is not going to be easy for you.
The problem with Nano Loop and the appeal is that it's an aesthetic thing. Like, you don't pick it because it's like a good DAW. I don't mean that it's not like look at this thing. Look at that. You think that's a good DAW? It's complicated. What are you trying to say?
Are you trying to say the main appeal for a mobile DAW is that it looks cute and that it doesn't function well as a mobile DAW?
It's sort of like a simple sampling tool. Like, I think it's going to be good for doing like what I'm going to do right now.
Okay.
It's not going to be good for, I don't know, like Ableton Note's sick. Because, like, I think if we, I'm not trying to, I really like this. But Ableton Note is for drafting musical compositions. And
what's this for?
Is for, well, like some of what I've made are just like weird beats. And like, you could probably make it your thing. But like, there's a sampler. Man,
I feel like I've heard
Ask
you
a more
pitch this.
specific question.
I feel like I've heard you pitch this app to me multiple times.
What have I pitched it for? Ooh, yeah. What should I should record something better than. I'll do a little shaker sample. We'll try it again. Ready? Man, if that doesn't do it, they don't know it's good anymore.
At least it looks cute.
I mean, see, it's just like, you got to spend, it's a learning curve thing, and Ableton's got a real learning curve. But this has a learning curve that's a little bit more like one of those Game Boy games that, like, you just have to, like, pick stuff up until you get the right one, or, like, you really got to, like, figure out how it works. It's not super intuitive. You got to kind of figure out where you're, like, what the different synthesizers are and how they work, because synthesis on there is super weird, and like sampling is super short.
Yeah, nothing felt intuitive, and it all was confusing, like how to navigate it.
And I would expect that. Like, I would expect that for a while. I guess I think I fell in love with it when I was wanting an alternative to the computer, but still wanting to, like, be creative or have it be interesting. So what I would do is I would just make something fast, and I'm not super fresh on it right now, but like the key would be to just throw down something quick and start, like, tuning stuff. There's good, like, randomize functions. So if I lay something down, I'll do a more, like, interesting experiment. What did you do with it? Did you do anything?
Yeah, I was trying to make a beat. He was basically trying to use it as a drum machine. I was trying to show him how to do that. And I mean,
were you successful?
Yeah, but I think he was looking for ways to, like, change out drums and have it be easy to kind of more plug and play, because it seems very much like a synth designer for every single aspect of doing everything in the app.
Yeah.
It's not like here's a sample bank, let's get a rough idea out there and jam to it. It feels like let's sound design in a, like, small box that might be a quirky idea you could translate later, but
you got to think about it a little bit too, like it being, it's a little bit like the circuit or something, where you've got, like, 8 voices. It's like an 8-voice sampler. And so each voice, okay, yeah, let me try and explain it for a little bit. It's an 8-voice sampler. You've got a choice of, like, a couple different synthesizers that let you go from an FM mode to a subtractive synthesis mode. You can apply a couple LFOs, but the LFOs are pretty simple, and they can kind of only affect just a couple of parameters. So you can pick either your synthesizers. You can do a sampler where you can record, or you can load samples off your phone too. So if you want to download some kits, you can just load them onto your phone and pull them. I think you get like a couple seconds per sample slot. And then your options for those are pretty limited. Like, you don't have any real master effects except for some kind of like gritty compressor. You don't really. You can pitch your samples, and you can change the length and the way that they're represented, but you can't really change the tone that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As someone who knows about things you just talked about, I honestly lost it a little bit in the middle of that. No, not because you didn't communicate it well, just because
No, I would. Yeah.
Yeah, but I love that you love it. But I think I will use Ableton Note.
I mean, Ableton Note didn't exist when I liked this.
No,
either.
yeah, that's fair. But I'm just saying, like, I actually haven't used Ableton Note that much either. But
yeah. What do you think? Like, who's? Well, that's for kids who like are at high school, dude.
Are you talking about Ableton Note right now?
Yeah, yeah.
You think it's for kids, man?
Well, I mean, like, I'm thinking about who it's like, who it's gonna like change the game for.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
dude,
me in high school.
Oh my
yeah,
god.
or like college even.
If I wanted to get into this stuff,
yeah,
dude, I was scouring the world for something like Ableton Note. I'm scared. I'm scared of the kids that are gonna get their hands on this. Like, there's this thing where it's like, I'm thinking, oh man, that was a lot of excitement.
Well, it was a quick idea, and basically that like, you as the artist could just use Ableton Note, and your producer could do the rest.
Or just use Ableton Note. Isn't that what Steve Lacy did or something?
Yeah,
He just used like GarageBand on his phone.
Yeah.
You just have to be really talented on guitar and like singing, because you're going straight in and like.
But even think about it from the perspective of like a vocalist or a guitarist or someone who wants like to practice with different kinds of sounds. Like, the ability to sketch musical compositions really quickly is cool.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't used a ton either, but I mean, just like with Ableton, you just drop a couple loops in there and you're rocking with something that sounds like produced and tight.
I was thinking about I don't know why I have so many thoughts about this, but it's like, why are people in their 20s feel like they're at their most useful point? Or like, why are they, why are those the innovators kind of thing? But what rough idea I came down to was that you just had 20 years of incubation where you weren't expected to do almost anything except for take in what the world is like. You know nothing of how it used to work in the past or how it should work. You're just taking in what you're seeing and what you think it looks like. And then you're able to be like, oh, I want it to look like this. And you haven't had anybody tell you no yet. Or like, even if you have, you're like, let me try to break something to get there or something.
Yeah.
And so I think the reason that's not replaceable being older is like, you can't redo that 20-year blank period where you forget everything and relearn it and are surrounded by people who are also doing that and trying to like figure out the world.
Yeah.
So I'm scared of, not scared, but I'm excited for what kids will do with it and stuff. It's just like, I try to innovate and stay on the front edge of a lot of technology, but it takes a lot out of me. And it's like exhausting. And I still feel like I'm falling behind always. Like, I'll see the next new thing come out and I'll be like,
Oh, so the tough thing about wisdom probably is that, like, you build wisdom in whatever direction you're exploring. And I don't know, that might sound obvious, but I think about it more like if you are a person who has discipline and is smart and creative and talented and can like think outside the box, and that's what you practice, like your wisdom is going to be pretty tight. And if you've been someone who's sort of like put yourself in boxes and like told yourself you can't do it, or like been like, man, I can never sing, or whatever the hell,
Sure.
like then your wisdom is like super something, but it's not fucking
cool
serving you.
Yeah.
And so it's like time in the fire too, but then it's like, I don't know, what are you
Yeah.
what are your
I've never thought of
ingredients?
it like that either. Because I think I was solely tying it to my experience. But yeah, if you're constantly telling yourself what is the standard and like holding other people's opinions of how the world works above yours, then you can really just innovate into a box too.
Well, and so it's probably like, I think what happens with people is they either have success and then like have some sort of challenge on the other side of that, or they're totally like struggle and fail and they have other challenges. And so like, I mean, frankly, the ideal situation is like equal successes and failures and like some sort of sense of purpose, probably.
Yeah.
Rather than like just massive success and then no ability to like maintain it, or total failure and then like giving up on shit.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I remember I said to you the other day, like spontaneously, I said, I don't know why I was provoked. We were probably talking about death or something. But I was like, man, I'm moving too fast to be existential right now.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
And I don't know that I'd ever like clearly had that thought. I just kind of like splurted it out, and I think we both chuckled.
Yeah.
But I think that's true, that like I feel like everything I'm doing is aligning with what makes me feel purposeful, or that I feel like I was, brought to this earth for. So even though time feels like it's flying faster than it's ever been in my life, I'm not scared of it, because it's like, what else would I be doing with my time? And if like, death is getting closer, then
Dude, that's the thing we've been searching for.
yeah.
In a big way, that's the thing we've been searching for, and we're sort of in a precarious situation for a couple of reasons, but like I think you add a little bit of stability to that. That's kind of the like dream.
Yeah. Like we were just talking like so we just came back from the comedy show that we went to with Andrew, because we, paused this podcast or whatever, but at the end of our little hang there, it was an amazing show. Thank you, Dan, for throwing that.
Happy 1 year.
Yeah, happy 1 year of the open
comedy,
mic comedy, yeah.
Mankato area, Greater Mankato Area Comedy Coalition.
Yeah. Beautiful existence. But at the end of that conversation, we were talking with Andrew, and we were kind of sketching out what our week's going to look like. And we were both like, Andrew's the only one with a stable job right now. So you recently got or parted ways with your the startup you were working for. And I got a call this week on Thursday. Today's Sunday. On Thursday, telling me that to stop work the next day. And then,
well, you got a different message first too.
Yeah. I didn't know if I was going to go into that, but the first call I got was stop work for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Those 2 weeks, take those off, because there might be issues. And then it moved to an hour later, the call of, hey, stop work tomorrow. We can't pay you for the rest of the year because of budget issues or whatever. So now I am double jobless, because my 2 jobs just ended at the same exact time. Until they said that we'll start back up the beginning of January. But with saying all of that, no hard feelings to either place that I've worked with.
Most of my jobs are chill too.
Yeah, like I don't have any hard feelings. Like it's not a bad situation. Honestly, like I had a weird feeling that something was coming. I had no notice. Like I actually had no reason to think that any other thing like this was going to happen. I just had like a weird gut feeling that there's going to be a weird, change coming up or something. I don't know, whatever. So when I got the call that I wasn't going to work until January or like stop now till January, it was honestly more exciting than, hey, we're done, or hey, go full time with us.
Yeah.
Those two were the worst two options. So I was preparing for those, and I was greeted with, hey, take a break of 2 months.
The only thing that would have been better is a paid break.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Well, that's...
Yeah.
But the question I had and why I cared for you to elaborate that detail was, I'm curious about how the experience was in receiving the information in the order that you did, and how you think it might have been different if right off the bat you had received the information that like, oh, tomorrow's the last day you can log hours, like right away, instead of a staggered approach, like even in the span of a couple hours. That certainly, I feel like you had some time to warm up to some ideas and some opportunities that you were planning like a couple weeks out, and that got you excited. And then in the delivery of the second set of information, you're like, oh, I guess it's a now thing.
Yeah.
And then like there was some uncertainty there, but you'd already warmed up to the ideas, my guess.
Yeah, it probably helps. I don't know that they planned that. That would actually be some like almost kind of like
Be a little psychological
warfare almost.
Yeah.
But
I don't think I was assuming that.
no,
but
I don't think you were either. But yeah, because for context, the first call I called you right after I got it. You were the only one I called, and just saying, "Hey, what are you doing Thanksgiving? The week is Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah.
I have 2 weeks where I'm not able to work, and I'll have free time to sprint in whatever direction we want to go." And we started getting excited about certain ideas, and then I get the other call, which I was like pretty nervous for, because she's like, "Hey, can I call you in like 15 minutes? Like something changed." So I'm like a little, heart's beating a little faster.
Yeah,
and stuff.
because you just had a whiplash.
Yeah, just rocking around. And then I get that news. And for some reason, I wasn't like, I was peaceful. I was like, I love the lady that I work with that oversees what I do. She's fantastic and has been so supportive, and I wouldn't be where I am in a lot of ways without her. But I wasn't super, I didn't have any hard feelings, and I was like, I get it. Like, you can't see the future, and I'm excited. I was like, don't let this ruin your weekend, or even tonight. Don't let this affect, because I think I'll be okay. And then I call you right after, and I'm like, all right, Willis, we got 2 months instead of 2 weeks to get after it. So,
well, and you and I have always had this interesting relationship where we've been a little hesitant to like over collab, and it's been in part because of our other obligations, call it like work or other priorities or projects misaligning. But as of right now, we're kind of seeing this opportunity for probably not like it seems like independent projects, but like a really shared vision on the like how to execute in the near term future.
yeah.
And that's pretty exciting. I'm not sure where I was going with it, except for that maybe like, I think that these change ups are, challenges, obstacles.
Yeah.
And that what I'm glad about in a lot of these things is that like, we're just like, we're fast. We're like throwing ideas. You like call me, you're like, I'm losing my job. I'm like, oh man, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like, what you want to do about it? And
Yeah.
we're like,
You and Zach are like, unemployment. You're like trying to think of ways to get money. And I'm like, dude, I don't care about money. Let's think about it. Like, let's figure out the cool shit.
hey,
like,
and then I feel like we got some fun ideas cooking up.
Yeah. It's crazy because like, it almost felt like we were never going to be able to have like a a time together where we could sprint together.
Yeah.
Because like it was like we never aligned on free time and like vision sometimes. But right now we weirdly lost our jobs almost at the same time and are able to sustain not well by any means. Like I'm going back to just tuna packets, but like I'm willing to like do anything to try to make something cool. And especially with you, like this feels like a very, God-given opportunity. Like it feels so crazy that, and we'll see what we do with it. Like, even if we fall on our face and, we go on a tour
this has been the coolest,
Yeah. Yeah. Even if we go to a tour with like 2 people showing up to every show.
Yeah.
Nah,
dude, even the journey here, man, like even the journey here, cause like we won't ever fulfill our dreams from like this one little project.
Yeah.
But like the path we've been on the last like 5 years, man.
Yeah, dude.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
And like,
dude, I wish we recorded these
go.
like in your living room. I wish we recorded one. Did we record one? I feel like we did, but I don't know where it would be.
Well, like there were some of those clips that I was thinking we could cut to the intro that might have been like, I didn't delete much, so if we tried.
Yeah, I don't think I deleted anything.
We definitely didn't chat quite like this, though.
That's fair. It was a little less.
We did a lot, but it was like a red rock. It was between shows and whatever else,
Yeah.
I think that the pandemic, in a lot of ways, like did a lot of weird stuff with changing dynamics.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I guess I think about time before as being much more like repetitive and fast and like focused and streamlined and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And since then, I felt a lot more like, I don't know if it's. I think a lot of people have done that. People are like, oh, should I remote work? Should I travel? Should I just do whatever? Should I start an Etsy? Should I be a whatever?
Yeah, because it really reset. It reset both of our lives in weird ways.
Yeah.
And
well, both into and out into some of the cooler jobs we've ever had too.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Dude, we got the coolest jobs.
Yeah.
I literally have the job that I'm on a break from is my dream job. Like if I was going to be a normal person and be like a domesticated dude, like that's literally my dream job. That's what that was my like normal person dream job. And it's fantastic and I love it and I love the people I work with and I'm so appreciative of all that, but it's not fulfilling. It's not fulfilling to the point of me.
It's not where you're like,
I don't know.
You're not. But see, but I think the thing is that you'll never have that, or at least not until you own the whole thing. Like you need to know that all the problems you're facing are your own.
Yeah.
And I have that same thing. So like, I think it's like a fuck school, fuck work kind of attitude in a way.
Oh, dude, you know how we were talking about how we were like, bonding over the idea that we fell asleep in like high school and college, and we got decent grades. We got decent grades, but it was just because out of necessity. It was like, I'm supposed to get good grades, so
mine were okay.
I'll do that, but I couldn't stay awake, dude. I was so bored and tired because I would stay up all night, like working on other shit or just like whatever. But now we probably spend the most time. I don't know if that's a braggadocious thing to say, but like
it's like an after hours study thing. It's like you keep like, I don't know. I study more outside of college than I ever did in college, probably, and it's because my like, it's better.
Everything I get paid for, and the things I get paid for the most, I learned by myself. I taught myself. But the relationships that I got from college and the surrounding experiences in college, I don't think I could have ever paid for or like navigated without college.
I think the challenge is that the conversation's sort of simple around like how valuable was your college experience. It's like, what did you go to school for? And do you use it? Like, do you feel like that was a good use of your time? And it's like sort of a simplification of the problem because like we as humans are figuring out what we want to do with our lives.
Yeah.
And we're bound to make mistakes. And some people probably went to college and felt like it was a mistake. But for a lot of us, it just like, I don't know, it was like one of the possible options. And you'll never know what those other ones looked like because you didn't take them. Or maybe you did and you never know what it would have been like to try to go to some like college party or, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I think college was more than anything the best buffer period I could ever ask for. Like I couldn't imagine getting into what we're doing now straight out of high school because I wasn't ready for it and I would have had no idea how to get there. But like having those 4 years to like figure out kind of what I wanted to do and the people I wanted to do it with and who I wanted to be, honestly. So I think college was very valuable.
Me too.
But, you know, it's yeah.
Well, yeah, it's tough. I feel like when a lot of people talk about it, and even when I talk about it, sometimes I feel myself saying like, oh, well, I went to do this and I'm not really doing that now. So, haha.
Yeah.
But like, it's not what it is, or it's not how I feel about it either.
Yeah.
Like the way that I feel about it is that it was part of what got me here. And like, I can't imagine what it would have been like without it. I could imagine being somewhere else or whatever. I think just did the...
Which one's dying?
No, the 360 just flashed to blue, and then now it's back to red again.
Oh, okay. So it probably had a record limit or something. Cool.
Well, I mean, like, I don't have any regrets about my college experience. And I'm really glad that like I was able to and did finish, because I think that's like it's one of those like when you start something and you complete it, it's very different feeling than when you start something and you don't complete it. And college is a big one, and I think that for a lot of people, they back to those stories that you tell yourself, like, I think that for a lot of people, the story that they tell themselves about, call it their college experience, going, not going, watching their friends go, going, having a bad time, failing out, any of those things. The story that you tell yourself about those significant life events just like have a crazy impact on your experience.
Yeah, that's probably more important than actually going to college. Like if you could realize that college not working for you was just the case, and not the like that you weren't the issue.
If you leave, not like like I guess there's just a bunch of bad.
I think might have lost the cannon.
Okay, do you want to do anything about it? We're pretty deep in this thing anyway. Anyone who gets this far is probably okay on a low res.
Yeah, that's fine. With like I hope this isn't.
Explore it. Go for it.
I hope. Well, it's just we have a shared friend who left college, but is and kind of feels bad about it and regretful, or like they want to go back, and if they want to go back and do it, that's totally fine. But they are probably one of the best artists that I know of.
Oh yeah,
and like
cool.
Like if they never go back to college, I think they have an immense amount of value to provide to the world. But I think I can kind of externally see a lot of that. Like, well, I didn't finish the goal, and like feeling like that thought repetitive, like echo chambering over and over is like.
It's the story though. What's the story? What's the story that's being told? And that I feel like tells you everything. Like, I don't know the story exactly. And I don't know if you know all the story, but there's a story that's being told, and the story doesn't change, probably. but it might need to. Like, I think the difference between saying to oneself, like, I'm bad at math, and like I don't, and like math takes me a little longer to do, or like I failed college, I couldn't do it, and like it was the wrong time, and I didn't need to, like, it wasn't right for me to keep doing it. It would have been wrong to keep doing, like, that's sort of, I feel like that's not a very strong way of stating it, but I think that there's a lot of different ways to.
Dude, I wanted to drop out so bad just because I thought I was stupid. Like the last year, especially because we were entering COVID in my last year of college, and it was like, okay, now I don't even get the people.
How do you feel about the way that you handled it, having like stayed and then finished though?
I feel like I'm glad that I did, because like, I don't know, it felt like it was a test of my perseverance more than anything. It was just like, when the world goes to shit, and like you're given like a weird task that you might feel like is not worth your time or worth like going the last leg of the race.
Yeah.
Like, you put this much into it and you might as well. But like, that being said, I never got to graduate. I never got to walk. I was like the only class, I think, to never have the opportunity to walk, which is fine because I look stupid in that hat anyway. Like, I have a fear of those hats. Like, I look so bad. But
somebody Photoshop a pic of Jared in one of those hats for me.
You probably find one. That wasn't important to me super, but what I'm trying to say is, like, I did graduate, but my diploma was sent to the wrong address, and I didn't have it for like a year. So I was like, even if I never get it, that's okay. I mean, I never had to tell anyone that I graduated in order to get paid for anything. And, honestly, I feel the most bad for my mom, because I feel like she really wanted to see me walk, and she still has like a little bit piece of her that's like, wanted that experience.
I feel that. There's a lot of, I think college for a lot of people is something that is not always done for oneself. Like, I think, like jump ship a little bit and be like, we're sort of blessed to be like, college.
Oh, yeah.
But like for a lot of people, and for people, I mean, like my parents went to college. I don't know if yours did, but I think that the experience for a lot of folks is maybe that some of that is, it's different for everyone.
Yeah. Oh, dude, being jaded to your own experience and not knowing that you're jaded sometimes is like such a weird thing to pull out of, where you're like, you realize you're complaining about something, and then you like put it into perspective, even in your own life. Like, for me, working like terrible jobs, like the worst, like getting paid like minimum wage to do things you could never pay me to do now, because I like, whatever.
But
or like
relative to what other experience?
To like my dream job, hypothetical dream job. I still complain about it because
being born in like a very different country where you're stuck in some mine.
Yeah, it's weird, that whole thing of like comparing your experience to others. I still do it, and I'm a dramatic person to some degree, and a hypocrite in a lot of ways. You'll probably catch me in both of those things, but I try my best not to compare any of my experiences to other people's or have wars about them. Like, watching people go like, well, I went through this time that was worse than your worst time. And it's like, what? Like, okay, well, both of us live better than any king from like 1500. Like, you literally have a better life on almost every level than kings of past empires. So, like, why aren't you happy?
Yeah.
You know? So, it's never a helpful thing to do. And comparing your sorrows to someone else's never feels like a fun experience or helpful to either party unless you're joking about it.
It's a fucking pity party. Like,
Yeah.
that's why they call it a pity party. You're just like...
But I've done it, and I still do it.
Oh, I do too. Well, it's because, like, the act of someone saying something like that reminds you of, like, some experience where you were slighted. And it takes a lot of power to be like,
Yeah.
I'm going to just be like, man, that sucks. Instead of being like, yeah, this one time, this guy that I've met at this fucking thing did this thing and then that thing and then
Yeah.
I was slighted.
The opposite is true, too. Comparing your coolest moments. Have you ever been in one of those ones where you're like, oh, we're playing a weird game of like Yu-Gi-Oh! Where we're like laying down like the coolest shit that's happened in our life against each other.
What's funny is when you do it, so I'll like pull up to my friends and I'll be like, I did this fucking cool thing. And they'll go like, yeah, I did this. And I'm like, oh yeah, my thing wasn't, I did the wrong, like I showed up and I was trying to be like, look how cool I am.
Yeah.
And like they were just, like they just responded to it with their cool thing.
Oh,
but like mine, I should have just not said mine probably.
Yeah. I've had people come up to me and tell me like the coolest thing that's happened to them recently. And with no disrespect, like it was like something that I would have never like told anyone that was cool. Like that seems so mean coming out of my mouth now that I've said it.
Yeah,
but
man, everybody likes this guy.
What's happening? Oh, okay.
What's going?
We're live.
Well,
Okay. God. So I left off shitting on people who telling me their coolest moments, me not thinking they're cool, which is not a note that I want to end on, and I please want to reevaluate.
Let the people know what you meant, Jared. Let them know.
Because, well, it put into perspective me doing that to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like going up to, or like in conversation being like, oh, hey, thinking like this cool thing. Because the person that came up to me and told me about the cool thing they're doing, I was like, in my head, I was like, oh, I could just think of the coolest thing I've done and then just like really poop on them. And then I didn't, because I was like, I would get no value from that. And then like, this would just end up being like a terrible encounter for both of us. So I just was like, oh, I'm genuinely so happy for you.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, no two persons' best experience is like comparable to each other either. But it put into perspective that I've done that to other people. Like I've gone up to people and been like, hey, look at this cool thing I've done. And they've probably thought in their head like, that's cute. And then not said their cool thing and just like, you know,
ate it,
thumbs upped me and ate that whatever experience for the benefit of me.
I got one more USB-C if you want to get it plugged in.
Oh, I might actually have a cable. Yeah, the reason that we cut out there was because we have every camera has progressively been dying, so we're throwing batteries in them, and the pod track died, and the lights keep going in and out of dying.
Yeah, these are, this is new, and we're going scrappy on this one, so this is fun.
Fail fast.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it wouldn't happen.
Yeah. For real.
Do you just want to riff for a little bit?
Well, yeah. I mean, we don't need to pause it or anything. That one did do something different, though.
This one stopped.
Okay, so do we not have any camera now? Oh, okay.
So this one's
Well, yeah. I mean, what were you talking about? What were you just finished up on? Scrappiness. Oh, man. Like, I'm a big fan of scrappiness. I also am a fan of overproducing shit. And I think that there's a fun way to, like, find a balance. And the importance is timing. Like, it's for fucking true that the best camera is the one you have with you. And it's also for fucking true that like with a medium format camera you get a better shallow depth of field than a full frame camera. Fuck full frame. That was lame. But either way, you know, like you can always like fight somebody's hill and then like try and buy better shit or do something like 2% cooler. But at the end of the day, you got to figure out like what's worth doing, I mean, I was like, I was all over the place this weekend, like overproducing shit.
Yeah, talk about that.
But I love doing it, and like I felt like a mad scientist in a lab, like mixing up chemicals. So, and like to be able to just do that in a venue with like real people, having like real good times is fucking so cool. So, I mean, you know, just make it count. And I think one of the things I might add is that friction with the real world seems to be an important element of when it's worth overproducing. Because if you're overproducing, but there is friction with the real world, you'll like, I don't know, at least have some valuable like result. But if you're just overproducing for yourself, I guess like art's awesome too. Oh man. Do you need help? I'm going to get a text about how noisy we're being. Do you just want to go downstairs? Keep this going? Change the location?
I think we're okay now.
Okay. This other one just short.
Yeah, it's really short.
Have you ever intentionally bent the like prongs on a nice like strip so you can have it stick in the wall better?
No, I've never done that.
I've tried occasionally, like I'm doing right now.
Oh no, is the pod track on now? No, we're good.
I had unplugged it.
Okay,
We're still up and recording though.
cool.
We lost that green light.
That's okay. Oh, we got the blue and the yellow.
Hold on. I got this, guys. I got that. Where's the switch at? Switch.
But I think that's I kind of heard what you were saying while I was fumbling with that outlet.
Yeah.
But it is kind of crazy that we both are probably in the early prime of our technical ability and knowledge in the industry and like advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So we very well could just go out and try to get some lucrative job or like rack up projects or something, but we're choosing to like take all of the knowledge and resources we have and sprint at the thing that we love.
Dude, that's what I'm saying about the college thing. Is you and I both finished college. You got business and marketing, and I've got a manufacturing engineering degree. And we're like, fuck that.
Yeah.
We're like, but how about if we like design bass shows or like made music or like tried to start a production company or like,
Yeah.
you know, the path is like, I don't know, at least more laid out than we're choosing to take. We're taking turns.
Yeah.
Going off trail.
Yeah. I feel like the further we get into this world too, I keep trying to communicate this idea with people, and I don't think that I've really dialed it in yet, but the less I feel like a normal person or like I can relate to normal people or something like that, like the closer I get to like being paid for making art, the less it looks like this like fantasy world. I don't know. It's kind of like when I first wanted to be a full-time musician and like, you know, headline tours and have people listen to my things and see my things,
Mm-hmm.
it felt like this mirage in the distance. And I was like, that looks beautiful, and everything inside of me is pulling me towards it.
Mm-hmm.
And the closer and closer I get, the less it looks like this like golden perfection of a like, like a dream, like a perfect dream. And the more it looks like, the more you start seeing what's surrounding the dream and the details of this object that you saw in the distance. You see you see that, you're up all night, and all of your friends work 9 to 5s, so you like never see them because you're doing stuff on the weekends, and they never have energy on during the week, and you don't even have time to do it during the week because whatever. And like, I don't know how to say that, but it just like the closer you get, I don't know. That's the main.
Well, I think a lot of what we were kind of exploring is like, you could simplify it to call it some like basic self-awareness, like, but it is important. It's important to explore the specifics of the way you deal with those things, and they come up in your life. I mean, call it this one, like, it's basically that, like, you don't become an artist because you wanted something simple or easy, and then like when you get there, you're in a weird fucking spot because you probably built yourself a weird tower to stand on top of.
I feel so bad for people that accidentally become
Get famous.
Yeah, accidentally get famous and like become artists that they didn't want to be or something.
That'd be tough.
That'd be because you just created like something that might have been really close to what you really wanted.
You got any good
But
examples?
super far away.
I know it's like specific, but because I can like imagine what you're talking about pretty well, I think, but
yeah, just man, I feel like just off the top, I'm not grabbing on anything specific.
the only one that I can think of right now, and I don't know how well represented this is as an example, so I'll give that as a disclaimer. But I think the artist now goes by Bad Baby.
Oh, sure.
And I think that the fame came from elsewhere, and that then the like music career followed as like some sort of reason to exist in the spotlight.
I watched this documentary
also,
on SoundCloud rappers. I think that was the main topic of that one, and she was featured in it. She's actually so smart. She's like so talented, and she's working that like. I think she actually navigated that whole experience really well. But
I was gonna say I wouldn't doubt it, but that's the kind of example,
I might not have thought that before
experience I would think of. Yeah.
Yeah. There was this quote that I saw on what's it called? I think it's called like Behind the Camera or something.
Are they like interviewing?
It's like actors, actors and people like that. But one of them said, it was like the generic question of advice. It was like, what advice would you give for someone trying to be who you are? And they were like, only do it if you have to, because it sucks. Like, it's the best thing ever, but it sucks. Like, the decisions I've made to get to the unsuccessful place that I am right now externally, like if you looked at my stuff, whatever. No one in their right mind would do that amount of things, and those things, like no one, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's a bad plan.
Yeah.
Unless you
just like, you have to, you know, or feel like you have to.
Yeah. I think that makes total sense to like anyone who has that thing.
Yeah. But it's hard to communicate to somebody who doesn't. Cause I've talked to people who are like, oh man, I really want to make music. And they're like, well, I just haven't had time recently. And it's like, no disrespect to like that thing that you just said, but like, I don't have time ever, and I make music all the time, and it doesn't mean you're a worse person because you don't. It just means that like it's not in your heart to like do this all the time. This is just how I spend all of my free time. Like, I don't watch movies, I don't play video games.
It's tough. It's like, I think it's the early filtering. Like when everyone, I don't know. I guess I've heard it being sort of like when the tide goes out, you see who's not wearing swim trunks. Like everyone, like we're early on this stuff, kind of. You know, we've gone deep in a couple areas, and even there, we're probably still sort of basic. But like we're scrappy capable. I don't know what the best way of describing it is, but either way, like like when the tide goes out, you see who's not wearing trunks. There's a lot of people who like aren't in it to be a skilled creative, and there's a lot of people who like I don't know, I guess, man, I feel like
back to your earlier thought.
You go for it.
Your earlier thought of like when I was proposing being on the leading edge of innovation in that incubation period, you were like, well, you can work yourself into a box. I think we have certain perspectives on what it means to be an artist and how to go about that aren't recipes for everyone too. Like, I think there are some people that are successful with music that might not have that burning passion for making music, but they have a burning passion for something adjacent to it. So they still do it. Or I don't know. Like,
well, no, you speak because like I could have taken it personally that you're like, never has time to get around to music. Or whatever.
I wasn't even.
But
I
could have
because
that's me. But I know I make shit happen, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, so I feel like in the way that happens, it's like
that's a perfect example.
Making excuses and I do that. I'd be like, man, like I feel like I haven't made shit, and I feel like that too. It can feel like that, and then I have to be self-aware and be like, oh, actually, I mean, like, don't beat myself up too much. I'm like.
Yeah, because every time we talk about that, you'll be like, "Oh, dude, I haven't worked in Ableton in like so long. I haven't even downloaded all my." It's
usually the last time we like hung out or whatever.
Yeah, and like, I'll have to like check you and be like, "Bro, you produced like 3 shows this
10
weekend,
podcasts, couple shows,
yeah, and then you did like other video projects. You were DJing at like multiple events, like." There's like you feeling like you're not doing enough making music. It's like. I don't know, like even...
It's only important if that's like my number one priority and I'm like beating myself up if I'm not getting there. But I'm not really.
And we go through phases as people, like the thing that you feel like you should be doing changes over time. And maybe mine won't be music. You know, I have this fear that I'll be good at, that I'll become successful at something other than music. I think I have this deep fear that I'll...
Dude, you already fucking have.
I know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
but that's okay. Like, it's still leverage. Like, that's the like college thing. Is you and I have more leverage as like an engineer and a marketing business design. What I don't know how to well describe your.
Yeah, I went for marketing major and minor in graphic design.
Yeah. See, like that's leverage. Like, I don't know how much you use on a day to day. I'm sure you could be like, manufacturing engineering, what does that got to do with shit? I'll tell you fucking a lot. Like, man, like the subtleties, like the fact that I spent 4 years like in those classrooms just trying not to fall asleep, like just absorbing that stuff. Like, I don't know, I'm creative. I'll put it to use.
Yeah. But with that, like, I see it, because we always talk about this where it's like, you are so pumped to like set up the rig and make it efficient and like figure out the ins and outs of everything. And I'm like, how do I get to result? How do I get to result the fastest? And does that mean that I pull on certain equipment and use one feature on it? Like, okay, I got there the fastest, you know?
So, well, I agree and I like the direction and I think that that's totally true. I'm curious how you would take my execution this weekend and whether it was like, because I think I go 2 directions. Like, I both went extreme in the like pre-plan, like in the complexity of designing a thing, but then also like maximum practicality. Like, we had a total light show, total video show, and a multicam live stream.
Yeah.
All because it was like just pulled together.
Well, I think that was we've been talking about helpful limitations,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that was your helpful limitation, even though the limitation was that the ceiling was like really high. It was like
You're right. The limitation was the expectation was low.
well, it's like not even that. I think it's
Okay.
like I think it's that the show was the limitation. You didn't have any more time to prep for it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You had to show up and you had to deliver. So you were like, you put in as much effort as you could, and you got excited about setting up, planning, prepping, showing up, dialing it in. But
I just knew that there wasn't anyone I could call.
Yeah. And then when it came showtime, you were like, all right, I've hit the wall. Now it's time to get scrappy.
Now we're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, all right, I can't prep anymore. So let's just like do the best we can with what we got, which is important.
Yeah.
I really, because like if you were able to, so say you were able to work on a show so we have a show in 5 months, and you have all those 5 months to just prep and like, oh, what if this way would look better? And you were able to just set up in a space for that long, you would go insane. Like you would keep iterating without knowing whether it worked or not.
Yeah.
But with this limitation, you're able to like, all right, I did the best I could to prep in a week.
Mm-hmm.
I threw my stuff in there and I did the best I could with what I got, and I learned a lot. So next time I'm going to know how to do it better.
I think that's in a lot of ways, that's like the best. I really like that. That's the part that I like probably more than like call it the setup. It's the experience of like running a big experiment.
Yeah.
And I mean like this weekend was a great example of me being like, does that sound possible? How well can I execute that? And then in the moment, just trying to use the tools that you have to like best execute. And even now I'm like, man, I could have like streamlined the controller a little bit, or like I could have combined, but that's the learning part. And that's the part that's like kind of beautiful is, and I love that a lot of these projects that we're doing aren't, nobody's like breathing down my neck either about it. So I'm kind of just like,
I think that's why we're able to, I was thinking about that with my music and my songs and stuff. It was like, if my music popped off way earlier, I would not have experimented as much as I did to make like cool sounds and like really push it and like fail in certain ways that I've never seen artists fail. Because I have one song over 1,000 plays, and maybe I said that on the last one too. It's like, I don't know, whatever. But like, I'm not popping off with my music in any regard. Like, I know almost every artist, if you look at their stats that I know of, is doing better than me, almost. But I keep being so thankful for that, because I've been able to like fail through 3 albums that are like so different from each other, and that I learned so much from. And now if it does work, or when it does work, and people that maybe I look up to say, hey, you're doing that wrong, I'll be able to be like, I did it the right way once, I did it the wrong way, and I like the wrong way. So like, I think I'm going to stick with that. And unless we're collaborating and something needs to compromise, I'm willing to do that. But like,
well, you're building leverage. I think, you're building leverage. That's not helpful. Like, I've heard of it as like part of your art should be focusing on creating a discography that you like want to be in the world. And I think that that's one of the things that I like about your projects the most, is that when I think about having an artist project and then like discovering how they appear in the world, like I don't know anyone who's executed it better. And that's what I think is crazy too, in a way, is that like on top of the wild output, there's sort of like also wild. Like, I don't know. You're kind of in a weird spot where it seems like, I wonder if it speaks at all to the way that you like feel kind of about your stage shows, where you're like wanting them to be big, but
Yeah.
they're like small now.
Yeah.
And maybe the disconnect there. Do you think that there's anything to explore there?
Looking back on it, I wish I would have failed more on that front sooner.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at other artists who gig weekly or even monthly, I think they get so used to what a show should look like or what looks like right now
Mm-hmm.
that it's hard for them to innovate too in like show space. So I think it'll all work out all right, and I'm excited for it. But that I think my next big curve is that I need to start failing in a live setting. And that's the one thing that
You have.
I
respect your effort on that front. I think you've, call it the self-awareness part or whatever. You acknowledge that there was sort of like a shortcoming on your ability to perform live, and you've been doing a pretty good job of like working on that. And I think one variable for success that you'll have is your ability to continue working on that and explore different, like, call it instrumentation or like iteration of that. And I mean, call it working with the other capable people in the area, because like, in just a like click of a button, you and I were able to make sure that when your show happened, it was very like clean and stylized based on a little bit of visual you did and my like understanding of your color preferences. And so some
with
of that
Neon Rejected.
Yeah, and it's like
that one's kind of interesting because I feel like I've gotten over a weird hump with Neon Reject. Like I'm not scared of the live show as much anymore of like DJing and stuff. Now it's more of like I'm scared of keeping up my musical taste and doing shows alone. Because like now I think I could do Neon Reject kind of wherever and be like somewhat able to swim, where before it was like I'd never been on CDJs before, so it was like, oh, that would be terrifying. But now I think I'm not the best mixer by any means. But there was a guy at the show that was talking to me, and he was talking about booking me for like a show in St. Cloud. Oh, cool. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And then I immediately had this little bit of like discomfort or like a little bit of being scared, where I was like, oh, like someday I'm going to have to do shows like without all the homies. And that was like such a weird thing that I'd never thought of. Like I knew that was going to have to happen, but it was like, oh, that's real. It's like, oh, I had, not every show is going to be like 20 of my friends coming together to like do stuff. And, sometimes it still will be, but I probably need to face that fire too of like, whatever that is.
Can you make it that? Can you make it the good? Well, so assuming that you can't always make it the good version, you can plan to make it a better version, or like try to curate for the kinds of experiences that you like.
Yeah.
Call it like adding an artist to your project. Like, I think having a duo DJ project is great, probably. Like, I mean, if you can get along in that capacity with someone, with another person, and they can be your sort of like your backup homie, you're like hold the decks down while you go poop. You're like you're like bouncing ideas off of person. Like if you can find that sort of a person and then build a project with them, I think those sort of like combos can be magical and can keep you out of the weeds in a lot of areas.
Yeah, I really agree. And I'm actually like really down for it, but I don't want to force it either. Like
No.
I would like you. I always pitched to you. I was
It
like,
can
hey,
come in
we
a
should
lot
do
of
a duo.
forms. Like it can come in a lot of forms too. Like sometimes it could be like a production director, a creative director, or marketing.
Oh, sure.
It can be
Even like a photographer or something.
yeah, and like people like different stuff too. And the thing that people like can change. Like some people just want someone that they can like text or call at a moment's notice and have them pick up and with like
Yeah.
call it like sound advice or like process files or handle contracts or like trusted hold on to your family heirloom. I don't know what the fuck people
Sure.
like.
Yeah. But I think
Otherwise, you could just be like together in the project as creative equals too. But
yeah.
I feel like people do it in all kinds of different ways.
Yeah, like me and Andrew have made more songs. I have more songs with him than anyone else. I probably have like 20 songs with Andrew.
Wow.
Like maybe more of released and unreleased.
Wow.
Which is crazy. But like, both people have to be like down to rock out in that kind of way and excited. And yeah, I don't know. I don't want to force anything. But I really like having individual projects and coming together once in a while. Yep. I lost that camera.
Oh, okay. Well, let's just keep going.
We're just going audio.
You got your phone still?
No, it's died.
Oh. Do you want to use mine?
Sure.
Okay. How can we... I'm going to just like see if I can start here. I can't see it at all.
You put it on the wide setting.
Okay. I got it. And then...
Like...
Cool.
Sick.
Oh, man. It's not focusing now. There we go.
Here.
Do you want to put it somewhere?
Sure.
What were we talking about?
Like duo projects.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's interesting. Like, I think, okay, I keep coming back to this thing that somebody told me. I think it was this guy from like some DJ tutorial, and Phil from Digital DJ Tips or something. He said, as a DJ, at any moment of your show, you are either doing something to positively improve the experience of the people you're playing for, or negatively impact the experience of the people you're playing for. An example would be just bad scratching. I'm a real mediocre scratch DJ. I can like scratch a tune in sometimes, and I can like do a little witcha, but like you catch me doing too much, and you better believe I'm making it worse for the people listening. Not better because I'm like being a DJ. It's like sounding bad, and like it's not giving people rhythm, and it's like me just trying to like practice something that I should have perfected before I brought it out on the dance floor.
Yeah.
So something about that with like collaborations and whatever else, like you gotta make sure you're putting your best foot forward.
To like further go into that, like making it better or worse, and kind of tangent at the same time. I had, so for my set on Friday this weekend, which I did as Neon Reject, when I was performing, it was not going well. Like I messed up something on the mixer and I couldn't figure out how to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking out at the crowd and I couldn't tell if people were just burnt out from like a bunch of bass and like craziness for like a couple hours before me, which isn't a bad thing. It's just like kind of something that happens at shows. or if they just weren't connecting with the music I was playing. I couldn't find a vibe that I was into. And by the end, like 3/4 through my set, I was like, well, I haven't bombed a DJ set yet. So, I'll add that to my bag of tricks of like things to reflect on. Not in a bad way. I was like, someday I'm literally going to bomb and it's going to be like not good. So I was like, well, if this is that, then I have to like make peace with that and whatever. But I also had thoughts of like, man, I just want to get off stage right now. Like there was like a couple hesitations of like, not that I would ever do it, but it was just like, just having this want to just walk off,
dude,
and just be whatever.
You didn't have any kind of negative response.
That was what was weird.
There was no negative. I mean, like, but imagine a show where you actually get some kind of that's maybe an extreme example where, like, of course you should like walk off and protect your safety.
Yeah.
I was trying to say like,
oh yeah,
you didn't feel
stuff
good about it, but like,
yeah,
there wasn't anything bad about it. Nobody was like sending you bad messages on their phone or
for
like
sure.
throwing ice at
Like,
you.
yeah, it was like a really good environment for me to fail.
Sure.
But what was weird was that everyone I talked to, even like close friends and stuff, were like that was a great set. Like I had a great time watching you perform. And the first person that I encountered, that was their first like dance show or like electronic show. And they were like, that was sick. Like that was one of my friends, and he came out and he's like, that was it, and he was just like so pumped about it. And there was two of them, and they were super hyped about it. And and I was thinking about how you can ruin someone else's experience with your perspective. Like if he was like, that was so sick, and then I was like, oh yeah, I bombed.
Yep.
Then I just deflated whatever he felt.
Yep.
So
how'd you handle it?
I just leaned into it. I was just
Thanks.
he was like, that was so sick. And I was like, I'm so glad you had a good time. Cause I am glad that he had a good time. And like,
well, it's about them and that experience too, because you're going to do this forever or whatever.
Sure.
But this is their their experience.
And the person I did say, hey, I think I bombed to was Andrew. Cause I knew that he would, and you is cause I knew you guys would tell me like, oh yeah, that part was trash.
I actually didn't really know. I was like, nah, man. Like it was just tight. Like I guess on the, on the like reference for later side, like your set didn't carry the same energy as some of the before or after DJs, and that's difficult to explain without saying that like yours was very different and like of a sort of, I don't know, a style of a curated mix, like with a purpose different than the like just grimiest heaters chopped to like fuck yeah, because that's how you succeed as, call it like a bass DJ probably. And I don't doubt you could do that, but I've never seen you try. Like, you don't give a fuck about that.
Yeah, that's what I feel weird about. And sometimes I get insecure about it. And I told, like, the guy that went up after me, he came up to me and he's like, I saw you last year and it was so sick. And I was nervous to go on after you tonight. And I was like, in my head, I was like, I bombed. Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I just played normie bass music for normal bass heads or whatever. Yeah. He was like, I was just doing the thing. But you actually like pulled together like an eclectic group of like tunes that were like not normal. And he was like, that is so sick. And I couldn't even like see that for myself. Like I thought that was I thought there was something wrong with me because that was the case or whatever.
No. Yeah, man. See, I know you get pieces of it, but that's what Andrew and I are saying too, is we're not saying like you played the best normie bass set out there. We're saying that you played a set that we never could have played, nor would we have ever seen if you didn't show up and create it. Like it just wouldn't have appeared. Most of those songs wouldn't have existed, nor would they have been strung together like that with some of your originals. And so we as people who like your artist project and stuff, we're like, no man, like that.
Yeah.
Like that's the only different thing. Like, or not the only different thing, but
and
like
it might have not
it's
even
definitely
been
the thing that's worth like gravitating towards in the experience.
It might have not even been my best set you've ever seen. It was just like, not terrible, which was different than for my perspective. So
Yeah. Yeah, I guess on my end, like I had, man, dude, so much going on. I was
yeah,
fried.
for sure. You didn't have time to like.
So like if you could have just played the same song the whole set and I probably wouldn't have noticed. I would have been like, you fuck killed it, bro.
Yeah.
It was really easy to mix. It just kept repeating something, but
I was chopping the same thing with
No,
the lights
but you
were
know
just
what I
like
mean?
back
Like,
and forth.
everybody's got their own experience, and the thing is like, I mean, you ask like Normie who doesn't know or care who you are, and they're gonna be like, I like the other guys. Like I could vibe with this stuff a little more.
Sure.
But you ask like artist, or you're not trying to appeal to them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
I was trying not to ask anyone really, but I actually had a bunch of like people I didn't know there come up to me and like congratulate me on a cool set, which was, that was a learning experience in itself. Like feeling like you bombed and having like strangers come up and tell you that like they really enjoyed whatever you just gave to them.
Our good friend Grum played a set with his band at the New Enchanted Muse spot, and the thing that I heard him say more than once after his show, he killed a set. His whole band did. It was awesome. It was one of their tightest performances. But it's the stories that people tell. And, being close to him, the story that I heard multiple times is that, like, there was one note that he played wrong. And it impacted his, understanding of the show. And I wouldn't have noticed.
Yeah.
And I, was listening, I wasn't even producing it. I was just like there attending. Like if I'm thinking back, maybe I was like, that sounds funky or what? I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But like I wouldn't have, but now in the way that I experience it, I'm like, oh yeah, that was Onion Bun's best set, except for that he hit that one note. Or
Yeah,
like,
'cause
that's
now
almost the story I would tell.
Because it changed your perspective of what happened.
But I love the set. Like I had no complaints, and so I think it is the part that you focus on. And so even like me this weekend, I was like trying to be a little careful about being tired, and being like, man, I'm just beat.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't want that to be the experience that everyone else gets.
Yeah.
But I've also been here for 12 hours.
Yeah, definitely. You had reason to say that. That goes to like, we went to that AJR set or that AJR show in the cities, and my friend that came with us, the opening act, I probably won't say that person's name because of the story. No, it wasn't that. It was.
We don't need to go for it.
Yeah. But that artist for their last song, they're like, this is now I'm gonna play my most popular song and the song I hate the most that I have in my discography. Or like they didn't say it like that. They said it better, but my friend, that was his favorite song of theirs, and he has brought it up multiple times after that experience, where he's like, "Why do you have to say that?"
Oh, that he hates it the most.
Yeah, like the art. He's like, "Why do you have to say that he doesn't like that song?" He's like, "Now I don't like it." He was like, "That was my favorite song of theirs," and now he just told 3,000 people that he doesn't like it, and that could have changed. Like, even if it changed 5 people's experiences, like that's.
Well, call it just the personal example that it is. Like, one person's experience was significantly changed such that, like, in conversation about music and concerts, that's the thing that gets carried forward. And I think that, there's a lot there. There's a lot there. Like, as humans, we focus on problems. We, like, gravitate towards challenges. We, like, are very defensive about our opinions. Like, I'm super frustrated. Like, I got a ton of compliments about the production, and I didn't use some chunk of the fixtures the first whole night because they were just off, and I could not control them. I couldn't program them, and I'm like pissed about it.
Yeah.
But like, and I even told a couple people, And what do you like? I'm sure that they were like, oh man, that was sick production. And like, I guess there wasn't even all the fixtures getting used. Like that might be the thing that somebody says,
Yeah.
but they don't have the context, and like it affected their experience in some way. I don't know how to like take it. I guess the important thing is being real. I guess it's like there's a weird. You can be drunk on stage too. You can just be like pissed drunk on stage, and like people are like, he was pissed drunk on stage. I guess I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, and I've heard people like,
not with us or our crew.
No,
I should just
no.
disclaimer,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
like big artists, like blah blah blah. It's kind of a norm for the industry, kind of.
Yeah, which is like a whole separate issue of like the isolation of an artist and like
Intoxicants.
yeah, of like uppers and downers and like
Yeah.
self-perception
And even, yeah, I mean, just call it uppers and downers of life. Like it's a roller coaster of experiences.
even heightened. But like Andrew in the, I think it was at the back-to-back at the end of the night, the first night, he was like coming into a song, and we aren't used to CDJs. So he like accidentally like pulled out of the wrong fader, or I don't even remember what he did, but for some reason everything went silent for like half a second. And then he pulled up the song he was trying to mix into, and he brought it up later. He was like, oh dude, I messed up that like one time. And when it happened, I was like, I knew what happened, and I knew that it happened. But by the time he had brought it up later, I had totally forgotten about it.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, there was that one time I messed up.
But it was the bringing it up that solidified it.
Yeah.
That was the experience I was trying to describe with Zach and the band. Like, if someone had come up to me at that exact moment and be like, do you hear that bad note? I maybe could have been like, yeah, man, I heard the sour note. But, like, after the show, I would never have mentioned it again.
Yeah, or even remembered.
And
yeah.
no, sorry for dragging you into this, Zach, and your sour note. This is going to be when Jared pops off, this is going to be a real, like, sour note on your musical career.
No,
no, it's the same thing of, like, okay, so a better example is that as a musical artist, it's important to showcase your own art in several ways. Like, if you're playing a show, you can basically assume that some chunk of the people, they're there for their first time. So you should give a good, like, introductory show, as well as give, like, call it Easter eggs for your fans. But there's, like, sort of a general structure that you got to go by. And you got to play, like, a song that people know first, and you got to close with a heater. And if you don't do those things, you're leaving people with a bad taste in their mouth, because some majority of your audience, like, whether you played all your, like, favorite ones in the middle, if you didn't start or finish with one that they knew, they probably are leaving feeling like you didn't, like, cater to, like, you never played their tunes or whatever. I guess it's just that statistically, or when they study it, it's like people remember the first, the last, and like a couple pieces. But like, if you don't play some of those songs in those key, like, memorable experiences, you're gonna lose your whole audience, because the thing that they'll remember will be something different.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. Oh yeah, like,
and so you don't have to say anything. In that case, it's just your selection of music, but you also have a microphone, so you can tank anytime you want.
yeah, yeah. I was gonna say that I think people go to live shows for sour notes, because like if you wanted the perfect song, you could just listen to it on Spotify or whatever. Like, from my experience with the open mics,
That's a good point.
like, I just posted my first open mic 5 months later after it happened, because I felt like I have gotten better at open mics. But now looking back at that first open mic and my performance that I beat myself up over, looking back at it, I'm like, it wasn't perfect. Like, I wasn't going to win a Grammy for that performance or perform at the Grammys, but like, it wasn't terrible.
No one would have wanted to tell that kid to stop.
Yeah. So like, I think people show up for like kind of the humanity of performance, and like not, I don't know.
Well, especially now. Like, I mean, before you didn't have a choice. Now you've got like the option of doing something like IRL or not.
Yeah. Or
mean,
having it live perfect, which I will do.
Well, and
in some ways.
it's an important part of it, right? Like, it's probably both. Like, I don't think. Yeah, this is all sort of like self-awareness. Like, neither of us are expecting that, like, we'll just perform some sort of like perfect stage show. It is about the humanity. It's about the acoustic song where you crack your voice a little or whatever.
Yeah.
But then it's also about like sick lighting production with those killer like bass notes or whatever.
For sure. It was weird. I watched videos of my favorite artists after tours, or seeing recaps or just behind the scenes. And some shows they would be like, "Oh, that was so terrible." Like I did so bad. And some they were like, "Oh, we crushed that." And before I saw that, for some reason I never had the thought that any show was that better or worse than the other of like a touring artist. I thought the touring artist, like, you set up what it's going to be like and then you just keep doing it. I never, because whenever I went to a live show, I never had a moment where I was like, he probably did that better in another city or like something like that. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
Well, that's speaking to the thing about, okay, so as a wedding DJ, I got a little bit jaded to the fact that I DJ'd like, some wedding DJs have probably DJ'd thousands of weddings.
Definitely.
Okay, I get it. I've DJ'd like 70. And they were all the fucking same.
Yeah.
Easy recipe, simple. Your wedding's not special.
Yeah, unfortunately not.
And like, it makes you jaded to the thing. And that's what happens as an artist. So you probably get like lazy and you start being like, or not, but either way, a lot of the people, it's their first experience or their most impactful, and they like hanging on to your words and the way that you are. So that's where I think AJR did an amazing job. Is they left like they didn't have a single moment where they were not like charismatic, attractive, skilled artists.
Yeah.
Like, not a single moment. And I don't mean to like speak ill of like being vulnerable or being an artist or being real, but there's a difference between that and then like being a little bit tired or being a little bit cranky or having something go a little bit wrong in your day and then changing the experience for a big chunk of your audience, even though for you it's just like another show.
Yeah.
And I think that artists do that too, a little more subconsciously or consciously when they drink too, is like it's a way of like maybe protecting themselves against that experience and like I don't know.
I think there's a weird thing that I'm also afraid of with like being a touring musician where life feels really not real and you get further isolated, like you can't relate to anyone. Like even with the people you're touring with, no one else is getting recognized at McDonald's or like having people literally grab on you or like coming up to you asking for you to like pay for their parents' like cancer treatment or like just like all the things you would have never, I don't know, like
you didn't want to become an artist to deal with those things,
No.
but they kind of just happen to people who are in the public eye like that.
For sure. And what's like the one free thing you get from the start of being an artist? Free booze.
Oh yeah.
And it's like
So it's just
you're just set up for
agent.
failure. Like you literally have to like run away from that obstacle that's like being handed to you.
Yeah. It's like a coping mechanism that they assume is like as like what you want.
Yeah, because it's like the easiest thing for them to give you for free.
Yeah.
Because their upcharge on it is crazy. So
That's
like
true.
giving you a bottle isn't like hurting them, and it's like the most value you can get other if you're not like, like selling tickets. So you're getting paid less if you're not drinking, like, I don't know how to say that, but
I airdropped the logo animation to somebody, and he was like, "Wow, this is the first time I've ever gotten just like a cool logo animation from like showing up to do a DJ set or something." And I was like, "Oh," or I was thinking about what you said, and it's like, "Oh yeah, that's expensive to do," or like that's like not a little like I'm not selling. I don't know. It's like it's quick and easy, kind of, but it's not like just giving someone a free shot of booze. It's like different.
Yeah, no, that's how why we're so weird. Like the things we do, I've never heard anyone do. Like how we go about things is just so quirky. That's in the best way for us. Like it's so cool for us. Like we're like, this is just how we do things. But anywhere else, like
That's what I find with like my production company a lot is that we'll do things that appear to be in like an unreal environment where it's like because and I think that this is normal in some capacity, but it's probably some combination of like Minnesota nice combined with like big entrepreneurship vision where you're like, what if I just did like the most for nothing or like little and like was scrappy with other stuff and like we'll just we're making it happen. Like I don't need to value my time all the time, but I definitely do sometimes. I don't know where I'm going with it, but it's like make stuff happen, go scrappy.
well, it's like I've heard so many people say, even us, like, oh, given the opportunity of doing like this type of commercial or doing this type of shoot, we could definitely nail that. But we're not doing those shoots.
Sure.
We're not practicing those shoots.
Sure.
But so what you're saying is like you're practicing for what you really want to do, and you know you can't get paid for it right now to the amount of money that it's worth. But you're willing to keep failing even though you can't find a way to get paid for it. So that once it does work, then you really can get to where you want to. Because I see the opposite a lot where I see artists like limit themselves by not taking opportunities or even plugins, like, music plugins. I have like everyone in our friend group knows that I've bought every plugin under the sun to like make music, and it financially makes 0 sense, but like I used all those and now I use more stock plugins than I've ever used in my life, but I have like 10 plugins that I love or whatever. But it's like I've heard people say like once I start getting paid for my music, then I'll start buying plugins. It's like I want I don't know how to say that, but
gating themselves or like something. Well, and everybody's got their own budget for stuff, but I respect that for you and the way that you've pushed stuff because I'd say it's reflective of the way that you've done your whole project. Like you've never accepted the basic like default as acceptable in anything. And I'm the same, but in a very different way, I think.
yeah.
But either way, with you, you've sort of like, you're like, no, we're gonna keep going. You're not afraid to like fail on a couple of things, and the speed is the important thing, and then finding the right tools additionally important. And like, I don't know, what I've heard that I find relevant is there are people who for which will like always be seeking that 20% improvement. It's like the 80-20 rule, but flipped, where you just like, you'll never be that last 20% satisfied. So you will forever be experiencing that like 80% wish I could get it to 100 experience.
Yeah. And I have like financially, I often look at the pace that I'm going at. And I only get scared when I think it's going to stop. So like not that this money's going to stop coming in, that I stop doing things the way that I'm doing them.
Oh, so it's okay. You're the market that you're investing in.
Yeah. It's like I'm, buying
If you just
stock.
got bored and got like, okay, this is going to be lame. If you just like got a wife and had kids, your life would be trash because you've
absolutely.
like overinvested in certain other areas.
Yeah, that's what I'm most afraid of. Yeah.
So don't get bored, I guess.
Yeah, because I spend money, all of my money that I've made through my business, which is like my main form of income, has gone towards equipment, and I've lived off of my bartending in the cracks money. Like I literally have never paid myself from my business. I've only spent it on equipment. So then my business looks like it makes no money, but my income to like my debt is significant right now and always has been, but it kind of floats at the same level. Cause I don't know. That's not helpful to say, but what I'm trying to say is that I like the 505 is at your house. All of my clothing making equipment is at your house. Like, and that's because I tried those things, tried to figure out how they worked to see if it was sustainable for me to work on them, and then realized that my time would be better spent elsewhere, and that eventually I would come back around to designing clothing and having it outsourced. But right now I can't find any way to outsource the ideas that I have, so that it's a mission I need to like put on pause.
But you also like if you had the attention to justify the investment, it would be easy. So you're sort of like
That too, yeah.
waiting. But to speak to the value of the part that you just said is that like I don't know. They're like two perspectives. They're the perspectives that like, oh, you bought an embroidery machine and some other stuff and like you're not currently using it. Like that's just a bad take. Like if I wanted to design clothing with any one of my friends and like somebody was just like gun to my head, who you designing clothes with, I'd call you. And it's not because you're like currently using the stuff, but it's because like fucking, you've tried it and like it doesn't that I don't know if that angle's necessarily helpful, but the important part is that you understand the value of like running in a direction and not being like afraid if the early results are like mixed or you like overinvested in one area and you got to scrap it. You like sunk cost bar is in a good in a good area, and or I guess we'll see. But
Yeah, no, that's kind of what it is. It's like if I didn't
I have to pee really bad.
Okay, no worries.
Okay, should we do that soon? You want to finish up? I just want to pause soon.
Sure. Where was I at there?
Investing in certain areas, over investing in certain areas.
Oh, you said when we were helping getting all the stuff out of my grandparents, I was talking about these old Macs that my grandpa had, and I was like, oh, you think that would be worth like taking all the internals out and building a PC in there and then making the other Mac like top piece a monitor? I was like, you think that'd be a cool project? And you're like, yeah, that'd be cool, but it's probably like one of the worst ideas that like he's like, or you said what was notable about it was that you said normally you're pretty good about analyzing what's worth putting time into and like the return on that, but this is a terrible take or something like this is a terrible idea.
Because usually I'm the one that has those sort of like weird off the cuff ideas about like combining a random combo of like weird stuff. And in that case, I was like,
Yeah, and those computers are like in my basement right now, and I haven't touched them still. So
yeah,
that was definitely like an idea where I was like, if there's another pandemic and there's no reason for me to spend time on music, then I'll do that.
Man, that's how people end up with like.
No, I mean I'll test them out to see if they work, and then I'll like donate them or like whatever. But
yeah, no judgment.
No, well,
the
that's
collection of that.
If you want to get into that, like my whole family, I come from a family of hoarders, and like it's hard for you to realize that when you're in it and grew up in it. But trying to come out of it, like it's like a disease. And for us, if I'm to analyze myself and my family, the reason I was able to get out of holding on to shit and having like too many things and not being able to find anything was because I was afraid that I would be too poor to afford it again. Like,
Interesting.
like I was like, oh, I might
I have to get rid of this so I'm not too poor to afford it again.
No, I was afraid of getting rid of it because I was afraid that I would be too poor to buy it back again.
Oh, I actually think that is the experience of most people who keep stuff. And it's because that you're always like on the line and you got it. You worked hard to get it, and you know that getting it back, it's like it's different than sunk cost. It's loss aversion.
Cause if you sell it, you know you're not going to get the money you put into it, and but then you get into this other, even worse scenario where you put it into like storage sheds, like my family, and like out of my whole collective family, I don't know how many storage sheds there are, but my family's bought a house with the amount of money that they've put into storage sheds monthly. So you held on to this thing that was like so like, oh, I won't be able to afford it sometime, to, oh, I've paid for it 20 times.
It, yeah. It's like, oh man, yeah, that's tough.
So yeah, that's been like a thing that I've had to battle. And I think for the first time, I have a place for almost everything I own. And I have the least amount of things that I've ever had in my life. And I still need to work on certain aspects, specifically my room and my clothes, because that's the place where I don't put any time. That's the Mac computers of my life. It's like, I don't need my room to look good or my clothes to be put well or anything. Like, no one's coming in my room.
What's the behind the scenes part?
Yeah, it's like, I don't need anything to look good because no one comes here. I just wake up. I need it to be functional to some degree, and then I need to go work on stuff. So a lot of people, I feel like I don't have time to be like, but there comes to a point where you can't find clean clothes or you don't know where a certain shirt is, and then you're losing time. So that's the like storage shed of like not having a neat and organized bedroom.
Yeah.
That was a real tangent, but yeah, that's close to like a very deep experience I've had in my life.
It's wild. Those, like, I think that I think we call it materialism, but I think that our self-awareness around, like, call it materialism is really weird, and like it's difficult to understand. I gotta pee really bad. I'm gonna go do that now. How long? We've been recording for a long time.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll be back in a minute.
This is a moment for another ad break. Some ads that I really enjoy are V8 Energy. That's my number one. I drink the mango V8 Energy in the morning because it tastes like the morning one should be. And then I have the pomegranate one if I need another one later in the day. If I'm hitting a lull, need some energy, and I don't want the sugar high and crash, I'll grab that pomegranate. And if I run out of mango, then pomegranate becomes morning and afternoon because I always have more because I don't always drink one in the afternoon. The black cherry one is only when the other two are sold out. And the sparkling ones just are if all of the not sparkling ones are sold out. Also, Me Undies, I think that's what it's called. I tried it out recently, and I really enjoyed the underwear. It's like kind of no logo-less underwear that's comfortable and is simple and looks good. It's another one. Zenny. Got some Zenny glasses on. I would love to design my own glasses with you guys. What other things do I really enjoy? What do I use often? Neumann. Gotten into your mics recently. I'm riffing off sponsorships that I'd be interested in. Oh, Converse. Please. I have 1 million of your shoes. Would love to design some. Literally been trying to design shoes and clothes since I was 12 or like 8 or something. And that would be sick. Maybe. I feel like I don't have any. I'm not super whatever into that.
My cactus is looking a little sad there.
Yeah, he's a little droopy.
Yeah, damn. Well, why don't we at least take a moment to like figure out how much, like, where we want to go with this episode.
Sure.
Or, you know, if we're just like record, because like we could probably do this forever.
Yeah,
Usually
definitely.
wind up going till 5 or
Yeah,
6
that's
in the morning.
actually really true. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll have to figure out if we're just gonna cut for separate episodes or if we're gonna.
So I think that
know
the
when to
value
stop.
of these are that, like, right now we're logging episode. We're just starting.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting. We're gonna see how it goes. I think in the future, what I would think about is, like, this feels like one episode
Yeah.
because it's just been like long, messy, a little all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
One day reflections, like we're starting something, but I think we also could shoot multiple episodes in a day if we were a little more focused about it. So
Definitely.
probably just a balance of all the above, and like this is one episode, but also in the way that we'll distribute it. If we said anything useful, it'll be like clips better than full episode anyway.
Hopefully, yeah.
So,
or just like a great piece to look back on.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun to chat about it. I think too soon, I hope. Actually, kind of already, but I think soon, especially, the speed at which or like our conversation online will have caught up to the conversation we have IRL, and it'll be a little more like, rather than like context is necessary or something. Oh,
sure. Yeah, but I mean, we should always provide context because even if you look back on it, it's kind of hard to know. And
I felt good about that today. We're given a little context from like the weekend and stuff. It's really interesting to be like in the moment of the experiences we're having right now, especially with the work stuff.
Yeah. I think this will be a really cool time to document and like see what we're thinking while things are happening. Like that's invaluable, and that'll be like so cool if we keep rocking with this. I was gonna say, like, even the people that know us, like you and me, don't even have context for each other's whole week on a regular basis. And we might spend half the week together. So, that's crazy too.
Yeah. Wait, okay. Do you think that who out of everyone in your life knows the most about, like, call it your work experience, besides like someone that you work with for work?
Are you talking about the things I get paid for, or just like everything that I put it online?
Call it like almost any, just like call it the creative part of Call it the like the thing we've been talking about, the theme,
Oh yeah.
the balance of career, art, and life. Is it someone other than me, or am I pretty up in the running?
No,
there?
I think you're like top for sure.
Because I'd say the same thing. And like, there's just so much. It's like, again, it's back to the kind of like almost fundamental self-awareness where like you just can't imagine how different someone else's life is.
Mm.
And like we've got a lot of context for sort of like what each other's going through, and we have similar like interests, and we probably see the same recommended YouTube videos in some cases and whatever else. But like our experiences are so different. Even our skill sets are very different, and our approach to problems is different.
How we navigate the same problems,
Yeah.
like how your Mac is set up versus how I run my stuff, and like how you use Ableton versus how I use Ableton, or like how you use cameras versus how I use cameras. Like it always feels like a learning curve when we have to like use each other's gear, because we just have like such wildly different approaches.
Yeah.
Which
weird.
Is nuts. That's so crazy.
I wonder if like, do you think if in a perfect world, we say like, is it preferable to have someone who is similarly? Okay, so I think incentives need to be aligned, like direction needs to be aligned, but like you and I have never had a lot of like call it like arguments about the like how it gets done or something.
Yeah.
It's more about the like journey than the specific steps. It's
For
more
sure.
about the like direction than the like the way that it was even like I like to think about things as like you do as much as you can until launch, but then after launch you're just like you're planning the next one.
Mm-hmm.
It's less about the like the last thing and more about the next thing.
It's hard when you have a high attention for detail and no money. Like, because like I do these 3D renders right now. I had like Willis knows, but I had a 7 music video series that I wanted to do for Eclectic Part 1 and Part 2 that was so drawn out and elaborate and all linked back to itself. And there was like 3 stories within the bigger story. And I was so pumped about how I wrote it and how all the songs intertwined together. And then it just came down to I don't have time to execute all of these on that level or even one of them. So it became a limitation of, okay, well, these are my favorite songs. I'm going to make a music video, and every music video, I'm still going to have a story, underlying story, but it's going to be a little more on the go. Like, it's, okay, now where's the story going? Where do I feel like my story in this world is going? It's not like, oh, I know this is where this starts, this is where this ends, and everything in between. It's like kind of looking at the wall and being like, oh, I think that connects there, and that still lines up with this story earlier. So let's figure out all the, I don't know. But yeah, the point was high attention to detail and not much money to throw at it.
Yeah, but I think that's so. It's probably important, I think like call it like the music not blowing up right away. That's something that we'll appreciate.
Oh, yeah.
Like say we have at some point infinite budget.
I'm scared.
Yeah, that's not better.
No,
because the equipment's not better. We basically got the best.
Yeah.
Or at least
And
in some
even if we get
categories.
like a director of photography and like a bunch of people to do lighting and
And
stuff.
just got more people with their ideas.
Yeah. 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 Because I'm almost really, I'm afraid of not living out the thing that I'm passionate about, but I'm also afraid of everything that comes with the thing that I'm passionate about. Like, once you have $1 million budget for a music video, where do you draw the line? Where do you put your limitations? How do you have those same scrappy ideas that you had when you had no money?
It's where I don't know if I was asking the question at the right time this week, but the question I kept coming back to is like, why does this matter?
Hmm.
Like, okay, I get it. We're doing a good job. We're like overproducing some electronic shows. But why does this matter, and who does it matter to?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I can come up with reasons, but those are me just like making shit up.
Yeah.
And I'm not the person that I would be speaking to, probably. Like, would I like to connect with another person who like kind of is crafty and thinks like me? Sure. But
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to be the ones who like pay the tickets every show. Like, there's not 500 of those people in Mankato that I need to get to the show. There's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Maybe
just a different
if we
audience.
get on like a big tour, or even like on small tours, just have one friend that like no one can tell is associated to us, and have them try to be casually bump into like crowd goers and be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I love this. What'd you think of that?" Or like
Yeah.
try to get some like real honest feedback or something like that, like spontaneous or something like that.
I mean, it's a good idea. There's like all kinds of interesting jobs like that, or ways to do that. I feel like the real best thing is like just getting a fan who cares and isn't afraid to let you know when you step out of line. Like, I'm sure that, call it any big artist who's got like real dedicated 1,000 true fans, you've got like 300 people who are gonna let you know if they.
I think it's lower than that. I think it might be, but it could be. I don't know.
You don't think some of those, like, you and your dream life, you don't think you got like 1,000 people who might be like,
What's
oh, like
weird is
300
I've
people
changed
let
my
you know?
opinion.
Hmm.
Like on an album of an artist I really like it came out and I listened to it a couple times. And then I was on like a live stream with them and I was like, there was a chance for me to like go up and talk. And I was like, I'm not really pumped about this album. I don't know what I'd say. Like, and I had some feedback that I'd like thought about giving them. But then like a couple months went by and then I was like, I actually think I do like this album. So then it's like, or even like songs, like some songs have grown on me like a year later or something. Like I find it again and I'm like, oh, I really like this. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I would have given different feedback a year ago than I'd give now. So it's like, you have to find the people that you think are worth giving feedback in that moment too, which is
Yeah.
another layer to add to that thing.
Well, feedback sucks, like, honestly, too, unless you're asking for it, and you're good at asking for feedback.
Kind
A lot
of,
of some people just like, I try not to give feedback. I'm good at sometimes giving feedback when it wasn't asked for. So I guess I was trying to say is like, and my other favorite saying about feedback is that like the problem with it is that no one will like tell you when it no longer applies. So back to the like thing that you said at your show, you can really affect someone's experience with something you said off the cuff that you thought was like good feedback, but really might have been unhelpful.
Yeah.
Or like, I mean, you could just totally misdirect someone by like saying that you didn't like something, or like that you didn't like something because a certain kind of way, and they like really overanalyzed it and like blew it up in their headspace.
It's weird because I do that thing where I submit my songs to get feedback from other people. And you can tell that no one is listening for the story and no one's listening for the emotion of the song. It very much so feels like you're throwing a song at like thousands of other artists and them being like, that kick's a little low.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And like,
kinda.
but that's helpful sometimes too.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's really not. What I've had to learn after getting pooped on repetitively for a long time is that I only act on the feedback that inspires me to take action. Like if someone says something and they're like, hey, I think you should change this. And some percentage of me agrees with them that could be the case. I'll be like, that ignited a little flame in me.
It's something you want to explore. It's basically like, it's called like you're an app developer. You've got an app, and everyone's got their fucking idea about what the app should do.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you either need to, like, the only things you should focus on are the things that it has to do. And then, I guess, in the example of an app that's just made for you, like the thing that you want to make for it.
Definitely.
Bad example, maybe, but.
I was on the other end of the feedback game where I was at that conference at Vid Summit in LA, and I got in the elevator with Mr. Beast. It was like me, Mr. Beast, and one other person. And halfway through his big speech, I had to leave to go help hire somebody via like Zoom call in my hotel room because I couldn't get any Wi-Fi where the conference was. So the reason I bumped into him was that I had to leave for this call. So that's the reason I got in the elevator with him, because it was like a timing thing where I like got in. And then when I was in the elevator, I didn't say anything. And then for the first floor or something, and then I was like, how's the conference going for you guys? And they're like, oh, pretty good. And then he's like, were you able to catch my speech? And then he's like, I was like, oh yeah, I did. Because I did catch the first half, you know? And then he's like, what did you think? And I could tell he was like looking for like honest feedback because he was unsure about it. And then I kind of had a cop-out answer of like, I'm glad that you took questions from the crowd earlier in the conference and like tried to deliver the feedback and knowledge that you thought they might want the most. So I said that to him, and he was like, oh, thank you for sharing that. But I could tell that was kind of like an uninspiring response to him. And I wish so much that I'd been there for his whole speech to give the real feedback, because I did watch it back. And there were notes that I think I would have been able to communicate with him. But then I try to think of like how my life would have been different if I did actually help him with that and provide value in that elevator. And if I like, you know, best case scenario, he's like, oh, that's fantastic advice. You want to come hang out with me and all the other cool people in my room? Yeah. And it's like, then I get in there and they're like, you want to be a YouTuber? And like, which isn't bad. Like, I respect all those people, but it's like, it's just not my main passion. Or, I mean, it's weird to hypotheticalize that whole thing, but what I came to was that me wishing that I had given him better feedback, I don't think my life would have gone in a better direction, even from the best case scenario of me giving that feedback.
Bro, I mean, you know, call it anything. You know, there's probably was like a great experience for him with the fan, or like with a person who was caught in an elevator with him. I don't know.
Yeah, because I was
fine at least.
Well, yeah, because I wasn't like freaking out. I wasn't like the longer I'm in the entertainment industry, the more I realize that they're just people, and that no one experience is going to change my life. It's going to be the repetition and vision for what I want to do that changes my life, not seeing one person and them being like, I'm going to teach you everything I know and you're going to become a mini version of me.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, and I think what's crazy is I've gotten so much further when I don't go up to somebody that I admire and be like, oh, hey, I really love this thing that you did. Could you tell me about this thing? Whatever. And I'm like, at that conference, I just went up to people that I was pumped about, and I was like, what are you pumped about?
That's cool.
And it felt like they were so excited to share the ideas that they had, because I feel like I normally go up with this approach, and maybe other people do too, of like, what the knowledge can I get from this one encounter? But they were refreshed that they were able to be like, oh, you think my project's at the peak of what your project could be, but I have big visions for it. And now I get to share those things I'm really excited about with another human being, and allow to get feedback on that, and for them to be excited for me and whatever. It's not like somebody just coming and being like, how can I
Remember
grab your
that
bag of tricks?
episode that got 5 million views? Let me ask you a specific question about something you said in that episode and why it, I don't know. People have all kinds of weird, interesting responses to stuff. Huh.
Yeah, I might have really rocked out in that, but I have thought about those things a lot.
No, I mean, it's really interesting. And I think it's a little bit back to kind of you having some idea of what you want and not being like, I think you're pretty good with the shiny object thing. Like, a lot of people have really bad shiny object syndrome. And just like anything, call it Mr. Beast in an elevator looks like shiny object. And you're like, how can this, I don't know. Bad example. I don't want to double down on that. Like, we don't need to dive into that thread unless you're really interested. But
well, I mean, it's just like a bad experience for him would probably be, or I mean, I don't want to assume what an experience would be like, but someone going in there and being, because thoughts in my head, that I was potentially fighting was like trying to be like,
should I pitch him music? What if I could get in a collab music video?
Yeah, just like any thoughts of those things. And I was like, none of that's going to make his day better.
Mm-hmm.
Nor would it probably make mine better. So just like, I've learned over my time doing this that it's more about trying to find people that you're pumped about than finding people that are pumped up or something like if me and Mr. Beast or Danny Duncan or Ryan Trahan or Eric, if we were to collab, if I were to be in an elevator with them and we actually collab and we don't mesh as friends and we realize that, I don't know. I'm trying to say like prioritizing finding people that you enjoy, then you'll enjoy and make cooler stuff no matter where they're at in their career.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more about, call it more about the ultimate vision or the direction than the specific, you're not. It's easy to see an opportunity like that and try and get something out of it.
Yeah.
Call it quick return.
But I think that'll hurt your chance of getting it too.
Certainly, because it's like, okay, if I can get it, I'll sign the T-shirt or whatever.
Yeah. And you never know who's going to be the next Mr. Beast, or if you're in the room with them already.
I mean, one thing you said that I thought was really cool was that you were unless you had something immediate to say to call it influencer, or you wanted to get close to them, you're just looking around the room for their crew and going to chat with them. And that seems like a big unlock in a lot of ways, because in many cases they're the gatekeepers, almost more aware of what's going on than the real person, and probably, or for sure, the most available in any given situation to kind of talk to someone. And you get the benefit of not being starstruck or whatever the hell you might be.
For sure.
In IRL with the person. And by developing a relationship with the crew of a person, you're backdooring yourself in a lot of ways.
With the people that they're friends with.
I mean,
potentially.
That's it's definitely not a bad place to start.
Yeah. And with that conference and other experiences, I've been at meet and greets where everybody's flooding the artists. And then I look around and I'm like, okay, that's their photographer, that's their manager, and that's their DJ. No one's talking to them. And I actually think I might learn more from those three people than I might learn from the actual artists. And I'm not trying to be a vulture to any of those people. I'm just going to try to be nice to them. Just see how they're doing. I'm not immediately going up to them and being like, hey, what can you do for me? Or what can you tell me something that'll change my life? It's how is this going for you?
It's just a better
see where
use
it goes.
You're sort of feeling like it's a better use of your time is what I'm sensing too. Like both better use of your time and a way that you can provide value in a room where like they've already covered the like fanboy, fangirl situation. You probably don't need to add that to the room.
Yeah, definitely. And I've had like amazing conversations with managers or like the analytic guys or whatever surrounding them. And I would even say in our friend group that I say like at the shows we did this weekend, people come up to me and they tell me like awesome set or whatever. And then like some people were like, you know, hit me up about like, you know, working together, like making music or, you know, some list of things. And I just got off stage. So this is my peak moment of people coming up to me and like hammering me with like compliments and whatever else. So if you would hit me up like when I'm, you know, alone and kind of diving into things, it might be a better time. But I would even say in our friend group, there have been times with the small level of whatever we're doing where someone has hung out with someone in our friend group or hit them up and had long conversations with them and had better luck at talking to you or me because they had talked to an adjacent friend or like something. Like I feel like I already have a kind of a high wall up for new people in my life because I don't have a lot of time to invest into new people. So I need to make sure that I enjoy being around them and that, you know, I think we could do cool stuff together and whatever else.
It is weird to like call it like, I mean, eventually it becomes like what they call the old boys club. And it's probably just like a trusted crew. Like, and the trust is the biggest biggest thing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's more simple than like someone like stealing your shit or stabbing you or fucking your girlfriend or whatever. It's more like, can I trust that like if you say something, I don't know, it's less about it like getting done and more just about like the way that your overall experience with communication goes with that person and like the way that you can be real with them.
It's like trusting that you can like communicate well with each other and that you'll like kind of come to a nice result together, even past the like immediate like risks of like, I don't know, like what's the Pavlov hierarchy of needs?
Sure.
Like, you know, having someone not stab you is like definitely on there, but like, you know.
Yeah, when you can start to think about like self-actualization with someone other than yourself, that's when your like relationship has passed to the point. Oh, that's I've never thought of applying, like, call it Maslow's hierarchy to a relationship before.
Yeah.
But there is an element to that.
I don't know that I have either, so yeah, I'm glad we stumbled on that.
Yeah, there's an element of like, what's the best example? So like a relationship that lacks, call it trust or safety, is sort of stuck in this like very fragile, like chaos state.
Yeah.
But a relationship that has sort of like transcended past some of those sort of like basic scrappy things can really be built on like supporting the motivations of each individual. And like it's kind of like it's like that at the bottom level you're getting something that's like less than the sum of the parts, and at the top you're getting something that's like a multiple of the sum of the parts or something.
Yeah. And the more, I would say I mean anyone, but like very few people on that top ring.
Yeah.
Like you're
No,
definitely
for sure.
one of them. Like,
Yeah.
and that's just like, we talked about on the last episode, like bringing friends on to like work for you and work along with you on projects and stuff, and how you don't want to like set people up with jobs that they weren't pumped about to begin with.
Yep.
With that, like, I had a point I was getting to. Oh, like you and me met, not like you and me are where we are today, not because we met in the circumstance of like just a random bar and being like we didn't grow up together. We didn't like casually meet like hanging out at some party.
Yeah.
Like we met at a place that was in line with our shared visions. And I think that speaks a lot to like where our relationship has gone and where it is today. Because like when I look at other collaborators, they often say like we didn't start as like friends or like whatever. We started in a it's kind of like the idea of if you want to find your wife, don't go to the bar, go to the bookstore. Like if you
Sure.
like books.
Yeah.
Like
Go where you want to spend time with the person, not where you can like meet cheap people.
yeah, meet people fast. Like you might find a diamond in the rough. Like the other person, the girl who's at the bar, just on occasion, just like you do. And then it could work out, but your odds are a lot worse than if you went to like a coffee shop that you love and love to like work at or, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely it. I wonder, so with, I don't really have anything else to say about that. I like the exploration of that kind of like, I wonder, well, there's an element to that like hierarchy of problem solving with everything. And, you can even call money like a variable in the equation. And, your like life resources, you got like, call it even personal shit. Like, we're fortunate to be able to focus on some of these like artistic pursuits.
Yeah.
Rather than needing to be bogged down with, call it like health concerns or illness or just having, I don't know.
I think about that a lot. Like
Money,
even
real
with
money challenges.
getting my uncle and my grandparents' stuff out of that house. It was like, like I lost a lot of money by not working and going to help them out. But I'm investing in the people that I love and care about or whatever. But you never see those things coming. And it is like so now when I am able to like work on the things I want to work on, it's like I'm lucky to not have, someone I love compromised in a way that would need my direct attention or for me to be compromised. Like, oh, dude, I think this is an idea that I don't like to like externalize that often, but I feel like all this cool stuff's happening. Now I'm like, dude, it would suck if like some crazy happenstance. I don't even want to even share any more details about what I think because I don't want to like manifest any sort of that thing. But my mind goes there. I'll be like, it would be, oh man, it would be so crappy if this thing happened right when things got cool. And then I'm like, nope, we're not going to think about that. We're not going to let that loop in our head anymore. We should like shut it down right here because I've written too many songs that I didn't know what they were about, and then they came real for me to like, for me to think that my words and thoughts aren't valuable and like how my life is shaped.
Dude, I mean, but think about it this way too, like that loss aversion starts to creep in. The more you get what you want, that loss aversion starts to creep in. And it can come in the form of you like worrying about your health, the health of your loved ones, like the money that you stacked up, that Bitcoin you bought, whatever the fuck it is. You start worrying about losing it instead of just like
making cooler stuff.
And And I don't know if the comparison's super helpful, but I think that it's easy to gravitate towards those challenges, and like if you don't have anything, it's all upside.
Yeah.
But as soon as you get anything, call it like a cat or a plant, that shit can die.
Yeah.
You can step on it, forget to feed it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I didn't even think of it as like an early stage of that. It's like this is the first taste of like, oh, this is going to be cool.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm already like, oh, how could this end?
Clutch those pearls, boy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'd like to think that when it all works out that I'll have a good headspace of like, no, I'm not going to take that sponsorship that compromises my morality and like project or something.
Well, you know, it's like it's justifiable loss aversion. It's like it's fear over. I don't know. This is maybe a little bit of a split, but something sort of fair. Like there's a point in my life where I was very into motorcycles. And I think part of that was a little bit less concern about like my own physical well-being.
Yeah.
And a little bit more concern about like getting on the bike and having just feeling it. And like the loss aversion will start to creep in. You'll be like, actually my life's pretty good. Like I do cool stuff, and like it'd be great if I didn't have like to ride around in a wheelchair or something. So like,
or it to end.
The loss aversion of like keeping my shit together, my limbs all in one place, is like maybe, you know, maybe the risk reward is starting to like shift.
I think we all had that with skateboarding when we went through that phase too. It was
Yeah,
like,
we haven't hit it super.
No, and no one said let's go hit it, like because everyone kind of knows.
I feel like we would too. It just like, man, stuff like that's tough. But I haven't been disc golfing either, and there's no real risk of me like breaking my shit on that either.
Yeah.
So I think stuff like that's just tough. Like you either yourself need to be totally self-motivated to go do it regardless of your crew, or your crew needs to be like motivating and supportive such that like those activities are supported.
Well, it's not helping the goal, and I think even when we did it, it was like
side mission.
It was helping the goal of like, it was the pandemic, and we wanted to like get active and do something.
We need,
Like, and recently I went skateboarding pretty consistently without all you guys, and I started hitting up parks with a friend in the cities, and my knees started hurting. Like I was like, oh man, this is different. Like my knees actually are starting to hurt. And then I remembered that when I skateboarded consistently as like I don't know what that was, like 8 to 14-year-old or something, my knees were terrible. I was always going to the doctor. Like I dislocated my kneecap, I sprained and hyperextended like both of them. And then I stopped having issues, and I haven't worn a brace since.
But you just stopped skateboarding.
I stopped skateboarding. Well, I mean, I also stopped playing soccer. I don't know if that was part of it too.
Like
but
high intensity knee sports.
Yeah, I played football and lacrosse, which are kind of intense with knees, but there was something about, I think it was skateboarding. I think, and my friend noted that I might slam when I land. Like I stomp when I land. So that might be, I don't really know. All I know is that my knees hurt when I skateboard, and that I don't want my knees to go out. And I might skateboard a lot less if I can prevent that from happening.
No, that's a good point. And almost reminded me of like the stories that you tell yourself. But in this case, I was like, no, it's not exactly the stories. It's like the habits you've taught your body, and that you like are stomping. And it's a bad story that your body is like telling itself each time you skateboard, and it's like doesn't know that it's hurting you. And like for you to learn a different way of skateboarding, although it's possible.
Oh.
It's like actually really hard. Like that's unlearning a sort of like way that you've come to understand it. And sure, maybe you could have a long and healthy skating career, but in the way that you're currently practicing, it's like really hard on your body.
Yeah, so maybe it's like I didn't even think about it like that. Like there could be a way where I could enjoy this, but I just need to like figure out. And then the first thought I have with that proposition is like,
Side mission.
yeah, no time. No time to figure that out. Not worth it for me.
Dude, I think stuff like that, back to like why we gravitate towards it in the pandemic, is that like if you've got, so right now we need to be like really scrappy to piece our lives together.
Mm-hmm.
And we're pulling from all over the place. We're like, trying to make stuff happen. We're trying to like, we're over leveraging certain parts of things and we're just like letting others fall, sort of focused. But if it all pulls back, call it, you've got like unemployment, no job, nothing but Netflix to watch, and then you get to go skateboard.
Mm-hmm.
It's like beautiful.
Yeah.
Or you've got like nothing but an album to write in the next 6 months. Just an album. You better believe you're gonna go skateboard, and it's gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be some beautiful.
If I don't fill my
out there
time up with like making movies or designing clothes or whatever.
Sure, but you got like 6 months and nothing specific to do except for be creative and fun. Like those things come back,
and I think having a deadline of like 6 months on an album would cause some sort of anxiety too.
Yeah.
That would need to be relieved through a mindless task for good friends. So I'll probably be hypocritical in my approach to skateboarding or whatever.
Yeah, protect those knees though, man. Shit.
Yeah.
Gotta be careful about that stuff.
Like, yeah, what's also crazy? I've focused on my body in the weirdest way, like in the last year. Like I was like, the biggest one I can think of is that I always knew I needed nose surgery.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, a year ago, I was like, I think there's no easy way to get through this. But if I think that my music career is going to take off, if I'm in the peak of that rocking out and I can't breathe on stage and I can't make it through a set because my nose, like I can't breathe out of my nose, then I'm screwed. And then I have to take 2-3 months off just because I need to breathe, and then that wastes all those opportunities. So I was like, I need to do this now. So then I got like full reconstruction of my nose, and now my singing's gotten better, and it's like fantastic. And I've focused on finding good places to get energy, like the V8 energies or whatever. And like, I'm not the best with diet and stuff, but I do try to. And then my teeth, like trying to make sure everything's in line with that, and like my health in general. And I got my ears checked, and I got like those personalized earplugs so that I don't lose. I've weirdly been like having this like checklist of like, all right, let's make sure that we're able to have a sustainable career and that we don't have any like weird kinks that are really going to throw us off the rails.
Pre-flight checklist, baby.
Yeah, which I don't use for flights, but
you're working on it.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I think in this episode we've actually kind of done a little bit of like hyping ourselves up and like been like, man, we got this.
Yeah.
We got like, and I think we have a little bit of that, almost all the way back to like being young and fresh and not knowing what like the reality of the struggle is, or like being naive to the certain situations and being like, let's go. So, it's all that, like, let's use it. Let's, keep bringing up the people around us so that we can have a positive impact on like others and the community that that supports us. And just like keep making cool shit.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a plethora of blind stupidity that's necessary, I think. But I wish I had more.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know?
Sometimes. Yeah. Well. I think we're probably in the right spot on that
I think we're good.
spectrum.
I think we're good. Yeah. With the bringing people up or whatever, so inspiring to bring Calvin onto like those last couple DJ sets. I think we had talked privately a while ago, and we kind of had the conversation of how you were like a big mentor to me, to like teaching me, you're the reason I got into Blender. You're the reason, my communication with people in general has evolved because of you and how you like approach that and how it like inspired me. And like, you definitely took me under your wing, and like, I've learned, I don't know how much stuff from being around you, but you had said like, we were talking about the chance of us just being the old heads, and then like some kid comes along, and then we just catapult him to do cool whatever. And you're like, I'd be okay with that. I was like, not me. I was like, I won't like, I want to do really cool shit. And it was like a selfish take that I knew was selfish or whatever. But even in my taste of like, just being a part of the process of helping Calvin like get excited about these things that we're doing and like jump in, and I think he's like 19, and just seeing it in his eyes, like what I saw in myself when I like first got into this stuff, even though he's been producing since he was like a lot younger than I started, but just seeing his excitement and his like, just, I don't know, it was so inspiring. And like there was like a moment of like, oh, I mean, like if we help him get to do like awesome shit in the direction he wants to go, along with us doing cool stuff in the direction we want to go, that I think I'm so really excited about that.
Yeah. Man.
But also, yeah, thank you so much for coming in my life, man.
Dude.
I appreciate you, man.
Dude, you don't gotta thank me for anything. But I appreciate it, and I mean, yeah, I mean, you inspire me a lot with your art, and I was thinking about it a little bit during the beginning of our podcast, and I don't know if it's like, I don't know, I see some, I don't need to take any credit for it, nor would I expect to be given any, but I see some of like my ideas in your project.
Sure.
And I'm at least pleased that they're like ones that seem to have a positive effect, or like call it Blender, and like just getting your shit out. Now
Absolutely.
You've got a sick discography and you're making your own visuals. So
yeah,
like,
dude.
Man, I mean, and I couldn't, you know more about most of those things than I do. So I didn't teach you those things. I was just like, hey, maybe that's where you're missing stuff.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. So
yeah, for sure. Like,
credit to your running with shit.
Yeah. Well, dude. Even like, yeah, because with Blender, we've maybe we've sat down together once and you've been like, this is kind of how this works.
Yeah. Like,
and that's not like you would have gladly sat down and showed me how to do anything that you knew. It was just that like that wasn't how it worked out, and you just inspired me.
It was my confidence in the direction. It's like, no, this is the tool that can help you get where you want to go.
And then like I get super deep into it, and then I like actually realize that it is the best tool I could have ever landed on. Like, and that I got there like faster than I would have ever gotten if I had put time into it. And hopefully, like I hope that I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but hopefully I've
Dude,
inspired some
you've
sort
inspired
of...
me massively. And think about like the part that I like doing is like in a lot of ways. I mean, I think we both sometimes wish I was a little bit more of like a producer artist, like individual band or whatever. But like the thing that I like doing in a lot of ways is like helping support other artists. And so through you being a part of the crew and through your projects, I've been able to help produce like art, like real art for like a real artist that I like. And that's been dope. Not saying that that couldn't happen with some of the other DJs that we work with, but like the sets, it's kind of different. And you know, dude, like that's the whole thing.
Dude. But I mean, yeah, it wouldn't be possible without you in the execution of it and the, preliminary ideation. We always talk about it, but like we used to just like sit in your living room at the old place and talk for hours about like what we should do, what's our next steps, and where do we want to go, what do we want to be. And those conversations were, if we were to like have a podcast with that, we would probably need 100 episodes to get to a point where they're cohesive, I think. Like, because coming out of those, I was left inspired and with like notes to take in certain directions, like we just referenced. But I don't think we ever really like fleshed out ideas like this.
No, we didn't have the language for it. So, I mean, that's the part I think I was trying to thank you for too, is the like the practice of it, is the like the experience with the beginning, middle, call it like future of an artist project, and then the like ability to see it in detail, watch the experiments, help with certain parts, definitely be I mean, you've never even like hardly relied on me for much of anything except for just like the parts that you I don't feel like I've ever been overburdened by your project at all, like even in a little bit. And I don't know if I feel like I have been by other people, but with how much exposure we've had, I certainly think it could have happened.
Yeah. And I really try to, even with me, crashing in your basement, try not to take it for granted or like, I probably overly try to do everything myself to a point that I try to like leave room for people to be excited about something and not burdened by it. But I know that I have room for that not to be the case, and that, sometimes it could.
A lot of people's first choice is to make their problem somebody else's problem.
Maybe.
But I don't know. Maybe it's unhelpful to say that a lot of people, but I don't feel like I've ever felt that from you. Like, I don't feel like I've ever felt like, and we've talked about some like real problems or whatever. I don't know. Call it like soft, creative, real problems. But like, you've never made it my problem. It's always been like, hey, like, what do you think I should do? And I've always felt like my advice was helpful, but not like the Bible. Like, I never felt like I needed to check up to see if you were like doing it right, or
sure.
like, or even executing it all. Like I said, it was just that in that conversation, like what you wanted was my best idea or like thought, and that I could succeed by just like being honest and helpful and trying not to like be too ego driven in the conversation or something.
Yeah. And I think the one that you have kind of preached over and over that I haven't really received and dove into is the live shows. Well, I mean, I did with the open mic and stuff, but and that's what we're trying to hit.
Yeah.
That's what,
I mean, the thing for me is like a lot of the advice I give is the advice I need to hear myself. Like I'm not telling you anything that I'm not needing to hear myself. And so in telling you it, I think I don't know, but back to me having like multiple projects that have sort of differing needs, or even my like I'm not beat up about Conundrum being a little smaller because I think Triple Falls is dope. So maybe it's like maybe it's making sure that I'm not over allocating my energy in like one space that isn't just a space that I guess like having balance with things is important. Like even in some of my existing projects, they are much bigger in my head than they should be, or maybe than the actuality requires. And there are others that are like really small and agile in my head. And yours, despite being one of the like larger projects that I've been involved with the like strongest vision, is also one that like relies on me a little bit less and like doesn't require my specific input. So I don't feel burdened by it at all.
That's good.
Nor I don't feel like you have ever tried. You know, it's just
No,
like,
and that's something I'm scared of. I would honestly say, like,
yeah,
is pulling people on and being a burden in
no, it's
any way.
for me. It's like inspiring. Oh, it's more than the like I'm just programming DJ shows. It's more like, oh no, I'm helping build the discography of this artist that I fucking like.
Heck yeah.
Super hype about.
Yeah.
And if I get to do some like live streams or get you friction on those stages or help produce a live show, or even in the basement, like chop up some whatever, like that's so fun.
Yeah, I try to make it just like 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 we talked about killing babies on the last one. There's another one that we didn't talk about, and that is being willing to kill something that is working that you don't want to do. I did those like behind the story behind the songs, and there was one song I didn't want to tell the story, and all those were probably getting more traction than I've ever got in my musical career, like those videos. And I had this really big internal debate of like whether I was going to tell the story anyway, just to have continuity and show that I like, had one for every song. But then it came down to like, no, I created this thing. I can kill it when I need to, or I can shut it down when I need to, or I can take out parts that make me feel uncomfortable and not do them. Like I need to give myself that liberty. And what I try to do is when I pull other people onto my project, I need to be willing to kill things that other people aren't willing to or excited to be a part of. So even if I have like a crazy vision for what a video could look like, if at any point that vision is compromising the people involved, I will try to make sure that the vision is malleable to being able to be excited all around by the people involved, if that makes sense.
I think probably that the alternative is compensating someone like massively to do the thing that is your vision.
Yeah.
Which is a very different experience too. I think I've thought about that a couple of times with the way that we've done some of these shows recently, in that in part they're like an artificial environment. Not that they're not real or not a good time or not whatever, but it's like a situation created by like excess supply and like an experiment in demand, or I don't know.
It's like a big investment from like a small few people that isn't necessarily recognized by everyone involved,
Yeah, it's kind of a longer game.
Yeah. It's like no one would do what we're doing just for the money of what we're getting for doing it.
It's back to the like where we started in this, in a way where it's not good advice. It's not a good idea. It's not like the right direction unless you don't have a choice.
Yeah. If you want to make money, do go into sales or something. Like if you want to be famous, like, find whatever you need to find to figure out that you don't want to be famous. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But where you started with that, I kind of wanted you to keep going, I think. It was the, goodness. I was saying, like, making sure everyone's pumped. Making sure that the vision is malleable to, like, the people involved. You had said that, like, otherwise you need to compensate people, but I think that I've loved the things I've made more because we've always found a way where I'm still telling the story that I wanted to. It just got better by me letting go and letting everyone get excited about it,
Well, you've had some. There's an example you can think of probably pretty clearly where you thought that there was a plan to do something, and that as things evolved, that plan was not like fulfilled in the way that you thought it might be. But I think in the way that I can be critical of my musical output, you could also recognize that in other ways you really did execute on the thing that you were like wanting to do. I guess the example I would give is like you've got 20-ish plus songs with Andrew. That didn't just like come out of nowhere, and like it wasn't exactly what you intended when you and he decided to live together in that way, but as a result, like that's where it's at. And so you may have thought it was going to be one thing, but
sure,
but that's the direction it's gone.
Yeah, letting things evolve into what they're supposed to. Like even, me and you being friends, like the first time we met each other, I don't think either of us would have had the first thought of like, we're going to end up right here. Like we might have even been like, I might never see that guy again,
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, I remember being excited to know you, not even so much because of, I was like, oh man, this is working. It's like there's a connection there. But I guess the part that had worked is that we had put out a little feeler and somebody was like seeking for it or something. So that was the biggest thing that I was the most excited about, I guess. Beyond that, I could say like it was like fun to like the number of people that I know who even knew what Ableton was is low.
Dude, that was a moment of what we were talking about earlier where I think I was trying to impress you and telling you like something I had tried. I think I specifically remember what it was. I was like, oh, what I did was I low passed I programmed a drum sequence and then I low passed it all and then I added a bit crusher on it so that there was high frequencies again. And then you just looked at me like in a way where you're like, hell yeah, you know what those words are.
Yeah, probably.
And it was like me trying to like, that was me playing that this is my best experience game with you, trying to, and maybe in that case it was the right time to like do that. But if I was to do that with, somewhat like a crazy artist, they'd be like, oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
They'd be like, yeah, I don't even, it's not even worth me telling you the coolest thing I've tried in Ableton.
It probably depends. Yeah, probably just, yeah, it depends on the place where you and that person are. Like, I mean, in this case, like, I'm just early enough in my own career where, like, I also need that, like, stimulation. So if anyone who was, like, into that shit just didn't mention it, I would be like, what the fuck, guys, come on. Like, I don't know, somebody, like, what do you got? We got to do stuff. So, I mean, in that situation, it definitely wasn't the wrong time for you to, like, mention that you knew that kind of thing. But that's also, like, literally the purpose of the event. We were like, hey, people who know what these things are, like, come here and we can like talk about it, and this would be a space for that to happen. So I guess it worked. You know?
What was crazy is that I know we've talked about that. I ended up there because I took that piano class.
Mm-hmm.
But that piano class was worthless.
Mm.
I learned almost nothing from that piano class. I had 3 different instructors during it. One instructor showed up late all the time. Another instructor told us we never needed to come back. And then another instructor was like super strict. You had to be there on time. And we had to like might not even be remembering that right, but I might be morphing different traits of different ones together or whatever. But it was just such a weird and like not helpful experience overall. And me signing up for that class was like this gut feeling of like, I should take a class in the music industry. And then I was like, what's jumping out at me that would work? And then I was that one. And then I was like, well, this class is useless. And then I go into like office hours with Gadberry, and then he's like, oh, you should check out this synth meet. And then I went to the synth meet, and that was probably the most valuable thing I got out of taking that class, you know? So
They say college is about the connections you make.
for sure, yeah. But it's weird how like gut feelings and blind running towards something gets you somewhere you never thought you'd be.
The through line and the consistent. So there's some like unusual circumstances there or something. But the through line is that you in each situation were seeking out something like other than what was being offered. You're like, but I guess like what else is there to do? Because this is
Sure. Yeah, discontentment was the start.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a need for.
And you weren't going there to like butter them up about grades or I don't know, maybe you were, whatever. No, yeah. But you're like, they could tell that like you weren't quite the right fit for whatever they were offering.
Yeah. I even went to there's a digital music class.
Mm-hmm.
I went up to the guy who teaches it, and I was like, hey, could you tell me more about the digital music class? And I think he just told me, he's like, we use Logic and there's a wait list. And then I was like trying to pick his brain, and he was just like, you're not worth my time. And I was just like, God, that was such a terrible, and I'm so glad I didn't take that class, because that would have been a derailment of like what I was already figuring out.
Yeah.
No disrespect to like whatever they were teaching. It's just like I learned way more from YouTube about Ableton than I think I would have ever learned from a college class.
I was thinking that college is a good example of like sunk thought cost theory and practice. Is like in some way it's like let me commit to this big thing, let me try and slog through it, and like because I've committed to spend $20, $40, $100,000, I'm just gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna get out the other side and we're gonna work through it.
Yeah.
But like the information is better, more immediate and specific on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, credit to the time we live in.
Well, it's like 100 years ago, if you wanted the best knowledge, you had to go to the best people. So you had to go to the best colleges to like find those people and pick their brain or read their books. And now we have algorithms that show us the thing that the most other people found valuable right away.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're just in a losing game with it's like.
And if you think the best people are in academia,
You might even have a professor who's the best at one topic.
yeah.
But the chance that they're the best at 20 topics in any given area.
Even enough of the topics to cover a single course.
Yeah. That's insanity.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe college is less valuable than it used to be because there was you couldn't get that any other way.
I think the value of college has to be, and probably always is or was, the people and the way that you're able to commune around an issue or topic.
Like-minded herd mentality kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's like do the classroom, do the feedback sessions, do the explorations, do the science experiments, do the labs. I think those pieces are the part that really matters. And for us, I think neither of us went into the call it direct industry of that we wanted. We were kind of adjacent and left field, and then took a couple classes. So we never got the incubator of being around a bunch of other like-minded musicians. And I would add that we actually weren't even at the right school for that. It was not there.
Yeah, or even that if we did that, we probably would have hated it. When I took one music class, so I took that piano class, and then every semester after that, I took one class in the music industry. I just added it on because
I took a couple myself. Digital music. I sat in through most of piano. I did some synthesis one and a music theory one.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Oh, yeah. What I was trying to say with that was that no disrespect to the other kids in the class or the other students.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went in those classes, I was expecting to be surrounded by 30 people who had music on Spotify already, and that I could compare notes with, and that I could be like, hey, how do you use the DAW in this way? What distribution platform do you use? How are you going about marketing your music? And then I went in those classes, and so few people even I don't know, had put out music, and then some people...
They were trying to see if the career of a musician was a good fit based on the courses that they could take in college.
That's kind of what it felt like, and I don't want to discourage anyone from doing that or put down anyone who has done that or whatever, because no two journeys are alike. It was just not what I expected when I entered music industry classes. I was really almost shell-shocked by the amount of the lack of
Yeah, me too.
common knowledge of music stuff. I was like, oh, these are gonna be my I don't know.
The example I would give is that anyone who tried to talk to me in my automotive engineering class about cars was really disappointed. I was like, I don't give a fuck about cars. Sorry, bro. And I was in automotive engineering, so they're like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah.
And that's the experience of probably but I don't know, not exactly, but similar in that the depth wasn't there for me.
With music industry classes, I think a lot of the other students were pumped about different parts of the music industry. So not everybody was trying to be an artist who put out a bunch of songs and toured or whatever.
Sure.
So that's also an unfair judgment I had going into those classes too, was that everyone wanted to be a rock star and everybody would have already known whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but
I think it is interesting too, though, just the difference in, I mean, you didn't have to wait to get into those classes to find out what it was. That for a lot of people is the experience. I had to wait to be in engineering classes, 200-300 level, to really understand what that was like. And even then, that doesn't like prepare you for like your day on the floor of your job.
Yeah.
In the same way that like your music industry and some of those classes don't prepare you to actually be like a real IRL touring musician or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or nor does it like, I mean, I guess probably YouTube's an important part of like education these days, and in accelerating the speed at which you like find out what the reality of your industry is or something. Like, how are these things applied? Like, what direction am I going? Am I more front facing? Am I back facing? Do I want to work with?
Because you really don't know until you like get in the thick of it. Like I talked about earlier with making clothes, I didn't know that I was gonna spend that much time, or like, you know, on paper waste that much time on that thing, to realize that, you know, and that's scary for like going to college. Like the reason I picked Mankato was because it like felt right. Like all these big decisions in my life were like made out of these like gut feelings that were so certain that were right. Like I toured other colleges and I was like, and then I went to Mankato and I didn't have many good reasons for going there. It was just like, this is it. I was like, this is the one. And I've had a lot of experiences that were like, I can look back and be like, that was a pivotal moment where I was going to go. And there was like I had other factors too, but like.
Well, the dots all appear connected in hindsight too.
For sure, yeah.
Like, yeah. It's interesting the like way you get where you go. Dang, dude, 2 hours and 30 minutes.
And this is the second part.
Wow.
So we're probably at like.
Part one was shortish, but
so it's probably like 3 hours total.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
These podcast. Okay, so if you stick with this podcast for the many, many episodes that I assume will come, you should see it evolve into something that's maybe slightly more focused and a little less rambly, but probably not all that different from what it is today.
Yeah. Honestly, like, from what we want to get out of this podcast is like looking back on our thoughts and like reflecting on, you know, where we were at. And if it happens to provide value for other people, that's awesome too. Yeah. I think like, you know, on the second episode, we covered a lot of kind of backstory ground.
Yeah, totally.
Of like how we got to where we are. So it probably won't be this long every time, but I think I would have loved to stumble on something like this early on in my whatever. Like if younger me could listen to this, I would probably listen to like all 3 hours. I'd be like, you know. And older me, I hope, wants to listen to this.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of who I'd like to be interested in.
Yeah.
This thing.
Well, I think it was a good chat. Like, I've enjoyed just about every moment of it, and I think we covered some good bases. So
absolutely. Thanks for letting us crash your living room. Send my thanks to your roommates.
Yes.
For letting us crash in your living room. For letting me crash in your basement.
Amen.
And yeah.
Anytime.
I'm excited.
Anytime. It's honestly just like, I don't know. You know, it's like you can be in a crowded bar and it can be the loneliest spot. And the only thing that makes a difference is like I don't know, whatever that piece is. But like, we've always had that.
Mm-hmm.
So, whether we're in a crowded bar or some other weird spot or just chatting it out over here, like, we always cover some good ground. It's good time.
Heck yeah. Well, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Love everything you do and always inspired by you.
Thank you. I feel very similarly about you. So
Let's send this one off.
Yep.
This is the end of the second episode of the NoPlay Podcast.
I have been Conundrum.
And I'm Smile Bro.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
I was making eye contact with the 360 cam, but I know that's totally dead.
Yeah, it's dead for sure. All the cameras are dead and maybe your phone's dead. So this might be just audio right now with like a still frame.
Yeah.
From an earlier video.
Yeah, that's probably okay.
Yeah, no, it's totally fine. All right. Well,
yeah, that's enough of a Minnesota goodbye.
All right.